causing them to fall out and be sucked in. Then, they exploded. Sharp teeth left its mouth raw and bloody. Damage numbers kept popping up. 24 million, 76 million, 1 billion. The fierce attack was so intense that even the realm dragon, with 9 billion health, could not withstand it. It could only activate its protective shield and struggle desperately. It seemed to have lost the fierce momentum it had at the beginning. The battle returned to a state of stability, giving Subai the opportunity to check just how strong the current stabilizer was. Stabilizer, power, 32 million, agility, 12 million, defense, 32 million, health, 6 billion, skill, heavy artillery strike, dealing 70 million damage to a cone-shaped area in front, covering a range of 1,500 meters, leaving a continuous damage zone that inflicts 2 million damage per second for 12 seconds. Skill, transformation enhancement, allowing switching between mobile artillery and fixed turret modes. Agility increases by 60 in mobile mode, and power increases by 40 in fixed turret mode, lasting until switched again. Skill, electromagnetic shockwave, releasing an electromagnetic pulse that disables electronic devices of enemies within an 1,800-meter radius, reducing all attributes by 36 for 18 seconds. Skill, devastation dragon flame. The allied stabilizer launches a shell imbued with mysterious power, transforming into a fierce black dragon in the air, dealing 2 billion damage to a linear area in front and leaving a burning flame that inflicts 9 million damage per second for 12 seconds. It also summons a shield that can absorb 2 billion damage. While the shield exists, it restores 16 million health per second for 28 seconds. Indeed, after reviewing the attributes of the stabilizer, Subai clenched his fists in excitement. Not only were the attributes plundered and significantly enhanced, but even the skills of the realm dragon had been taken over. They merged with the black hole and were transformed into the black dragon. The damage dealt by the skills was the same as the original realm dragon, 2 billion. This truly thrilled Subai, especially with the deployment mode. The power boost of 40 resulted in damage far exceeding that of the realm dragon. This was even more terrifying. Thinking of this, Subai couldn't help but smile again. The demon lord must be regretting letting such a treasure fall into Lung Hanyue's hands. If he were watching now, he would probably be filled with regret and might even go mad. In any case, Subai was quite satisfied with Lung Hanyue. This old fox really was impressive. Buzz. 8 billion. Buzz. 63 million roar. With a mournful cry of the dragon, this colossal creature had long run out of energy. Cold Hanyue, forced back to the 17th layer, had lost all fighting spirit. Now, all he could think about was one plan: to escape. To escape as far as possible. How to escape far away under everyone's gaze. Beside him, the marshal and commander, the succubus Lilith, extended her sharp claws, gently scraping the back of the flame demon king. Everyone, the demon lord has high hopes for you. This time, don't let him down. The black demonic wings behind her flapped twice, sending a fragrant breeze into the flame demon king's nostrils. The extreme temptation almost made him lose his mind. He steadied his thoughts. Don't worry, I've already made plans. It wouldn't be wise to confront him directly. We should follow his formation. As long as we launch a surprise attack from the rear, we can turn defeat into victory. I've already found the enemy's route. Chapter 309, Subai's Advancement. Gene Lock unlocks to level 5. Thus, Lung Hanyue pretended to walk through the pre-dug tunnel. He actually circled around to the back of Subai, the pacifier. Here, the terrain was excellent, allowing for a side and rear attack on Subai's forces, while also having a clear view of the front lines. It was a pretty good position. The succubus Lilith followed him, disrupting Lung Hanyue's plans. His plan was to lead the troops in a chaotic manner to draw his main force into Subai's line of fire, then take the opportunity to slip away, letting Subai eliminate this troop, while also seeking some credit from Subai. However, reality was often harsher than ideals. The marshal and commander Lilith had also followed him. This woman was similarly a confidant of the demon lord and had been sent as his commander, clearly at a higher level than Lung Hanyue. He had no choice but to abandon this plan, waiting for a chance to arise. Buzz. 24, 850, 000. The last strike. The landbound dragon's soul was shattered. Acquired, dragon's blood. Acquired, dragon's spine. Subai carefully examined the two items presented by the mobilized troops. Both items glimmered with golden light, clearly not ordinary. Dragon's blood, one-time item. Attributes, after use. The user's gene lock can be upgraded to level 5. The user's lifespan is increased by 2,000 years. And overall attributes are enhanced by 300. Dragon's blood contains powerful and mysterious energy that can penetrate the user's genetic level, unlocking the potential of human genes. During the upgrade to level 5, human genes are optimized and strengthened, resulting in a significant leap in all bodily functions. Subai rubbed his eyes. Gene lock level 5. Subai had never figured out how to continue advancing the gene lock, but now he finally understood. It was to hunt down even more powerful and terrifying beasts, enhancing his own genes by plundering the genes of these fierce creatures. The ability of the 5th level of the genetic lock does not enhance the intelligence of his troops like before, but rather strengthens himself entirely. Not only has it increased his lifespan by 2,000 years, but it has also improved his physical quality by 300. These enhancements are crucial given the current intensity of warfare. Reaching the 5th level of the genetic lock will further boost his survival ability on the battlefield. With his impatience in check, Subai continued to examine the next item. Dragon Spine Bone, one-time item. Attribute. After use, it can enhance all buildings in your territory with dragon bones. The Dragon Spine Bone contains the powerful force of the dragon during its lifetime, and its sturdy nature grants unparalleled defense to buildings, increasing building defense by 100 million points. At the same time, it activates the latent magic arrays within the buildings, raising the health points of all buildings by 100 million. After reading about the second item, Subai realized what an explosion of power truly meant. It not only boosts the defense of buildings and their health points, but also increases each building's health cap by 100 million. This is unbelievable. On the battlefield, who else could be stronger than oneself? Since Subai shares health points with the buildings in his territory, this means that among the nearly 100 buildings in his territory, each one can now additionally gain 100 million health points on top of their original life value. Thus, aside from the earlier mentioned dragon, what else on the battlefield could be tougher than himself? Looking around, he felt a sense of being on top of the world. The battlefield of myriad realms, the king of all races, is nothing compared to this. Without any hesitation, Subai immediately used the Dragon Spine Bone. The originally steel-structured buildings in his territory began to undergo a transformation, gradually turning pale and becoming bone-like as if blessed by a mysterious power. Each building perfectly merged with the dragon bones, as if they were one entity. Beneath all the buildings, magical arrays quietly formed. These magical arrays shimmered with brilliant light, and powerful magic flowed through the complex patterns. Watching these newly transformed buildings, Subai felt satisfied. Dragon S blood use. Subai took a deep breath and focused intently on the Dragon S blood in his hand, which glowed with a mysterious golden light. Without any hesitation, he resolutely consumed the Dragon S blood. In an instant, a searing force akin to magma erupted within him. Subai felt as if his body was about to explode from this immense power, with every cell vibrating uncontrollably. The genetic lock began to slowly turn, as if unraveling the most profound secrets of the universe. The ancient and mysterious dragon genes surged into his body like a tidal wave, merging and colliding with his own genes. His body began to emit a dazzling light, muscles tensed, and his bones crackled. Power continuously accumulated within him. Like a volcano on the verge of eruption, his skin became tougher, as if covered with a layer of dragon scales, shimmering with a mysterious luster. As the genetic locks continued to unlock, Subai's senses became unprecedentedly sharp. When he opened his eyes, he felt as if he had undergone a complete transformation. With a large army protecting him, Subai did not need to personally test how much his strength had increased. In short, he was very satisfied, especially grateful to Lung Hanyue. Without him, it would have been quite challenging to defeat the local dragon. The troops were already prepared to attack, and the local dragon had been slain by Subai. We have already missed the best time to attack. What are you doing? Are you afraid? On the distant mountain, the demoness Lilith approached Lung Hanyue from behind, staring at him with her sharp teeth clicking. This guy seems to be scared again. Lung Hanyue snapped back to reality. Miss Lilith, if Subai can defeat the local dragon, we would just be sending ourselves to death by going over. Why bother? Even if we are to die, we should at least go over to save some face for the demon lord. Then we will fight to the end. If we still can't win, at least we can die with dignity. Lung Hanyue shook his head and smiled. What good does that do me? What good? Dying for the demon lord is the greatest benefit. But I don't want to die. I know another way to gain even greater benefits. What do you mean? Lilith became alert. Just what it says. Suddenly, Lung Hanyue lashed out with a flaming whip, wrapping it around Lilith. Are you crazy? Lung Hanyue regained his original demeanor and touched the hidden weapon ring with his right hand. Subai's red alert troops quickly burst out from inside, capturing the demoness Lilith. Chapter 310. Lung Hanyue. What can I do? I can only continue to offer treasures to Subai. Under the temporary base, a person raised his hands in surrender. Captain, don't shoot. It's me, he shouted loudly. Subai stepped out from the mountaintop camp and looked down at the densely packed soldiers. All these soldiers bore the emblem of the rising sun. Subai was taken aback. Is it you who led the enemies over here? He shook his head in disbelief, realizing that these were not his imperial warriors. Upon closer inspection, it turned out to be Lung Hanyue and the infantry he had sold to him. In front of this guy, there was a woman who looked neither completely human nor completely a creature of the night. She had a captivating appearance, an outstanding figure, and was dressed in an especially revealing manner. Lung Hanyue was momentarily taken aback. A demoness? He looked at the enchanting figure in front of him. The captain was referring to her. A wave of ecstasy surged in his heart. Indeed, bringing this alluring woman over was the right move. It seemed he had once again positioned himself correctly. At the same time, a sense of disdain arose within him. That guy Su Bai, being so indulgent in pleasures, with such a significant weakness, would eventually fall into his hands. Lung Hanyue. Oh, it's you. Have you obtained the formation diagram for the 18th floor? Oh. Can we talk up close? Su Bai chuckled, gesturing for the demoness to come over excitedly. Captain, this time I infiltrated the enemy camp, risking everything. Look at this woman. She is the marshal, the demoness Lilith. I have captured her. The demoness Lilith gritted her teeth and cursed. Good, you two-faced scoundrel. Kneeling before the demon lord like a dog, showering him with gratitude, and now you turn your back on him. If I were Su Bai, I would definitely end your life with a single strike. A double dealer meets a bad end wherever they go. Spitting, she directly hit Lung Hanyue's face with saliva. What is wrong with you? Su Bai, since you've fallen into our hands, I'll tell you the truth. This guy has revealed your formation diagram to the demon lord, detailing your team's layout and configuration. We know everything. Cold sweat broke out on Lung Hanyue's forehead. This woman was so vicious. Clearly, she didn't want to live anymore and still wanted to drag him down with her. Damn it, hunting every day. Yet today he was caught off guard. When they bound this woman, she had pleaded and struggled, looking pitiful. It turned out to be all an act. Talking nonsense. I'll cut out your tongue first. Su Bai quickly stopped him. Don't be hasty. Let her reveal all your glorious deeds. Lung Hanyue was terrified, feeling as if he were about to collapse. If she kept talking, Su Bai might really kill him. Captain, don't believe her. This woman is purely trying to sow discord. In a panic, Lung Hanyue took out another treasure given by the demon lord. Holding it with both hands, he said, "This is the demon soul bell, which can share damage protection. I tricked it from the demon lord. It's for you. Although I was born on the moon, I am still human. How could I betray my own kind?" Su Bai took the bell and examined it closely. He was immediately taken aback. It was indeed a great treasure. Damage and defense can be shared. In an instant, the enemy's forces suddenly became formidable, and everything now made sense. It was because of this bell. All the damage received by everyone was transferred to the land dragon. It truly is a treasure. If Su Bai hadn't defeated the land dragon, this item would have been nothing more than a burden in his hands. The so-called shared damage means that all units share the damage equally. In such a case, wouldn't it be that if one ally suffers fatal damage, although they don't die, the backline defenders would also take significant damage? After all, those allies are meant to take the damage for the defenders. However, as for now, this item has become extremely useful. With a shake of the bell, all unit types share damage. Moreover, they can also share the damage they receive with him. Su Bai had just used the dragon's spine, and the structures in the stone sea were incredibly tough. With over 1 billion health and an additional 100 million defense, shared damage is not a big deal. Instead, it allows his allies who take damage to endure a little longer, preventing deaths during the most intense moments of battle. Thinking of this, Su Bai couldn't help but sigh. He truly loves his troops as if they were his own children. He tucked the treasure away. Su Bai? Quickly kill him. He is a traitor. The demoness Lilith urged again. Su Bai's expression was as cold as ice. He raised his left hand high, causing Lung Hanyue to shiver. Su Bai gently patted his shoulder. Well done. Here's your reward. With a wave of his hand, 500 elite Ivans appeared in front of the formation. These 500 elites, skilled in demolition, are now your rewards. Lung Hanyue immediately knelt down, grateful. No need for such formalities between us brothers. Captain, your kindness I can never repay. Never repay is too much. If you help me with one more thing, the gratitude for these 500 elites will be settled. Next, you continue back to the 18th floor, spread these demolition elites, and create chaos. By then, with our cooperation, we will seize the demon palace. What? Are you trying to send me to my death? I just escaped from the tiger's den, and now you want me to go back. Su Bai, you are truly ruthless. Captain, the key is that you have achieved a great victory. When I return, I will definitely be punished, probably executed. How can we talk about cooperation here? Lung Hanyue found an excuse. I thought of that long ago. Since this woman is the confidant of the demon lord, having her as a witness, you did your best, and you probably won't face severe punishment. Lilith snorted coldly from the side. Let me go back? You believe that if I go back, I will expose his secrets, and he will surely die. I want to help you with this just because you released me. Su Bai looked at Lilith with a cold smile. It seems you misunderstood my intention. Su Bai waved his hand again, and dozens of spies appeared out of nowhere. Commander, what are the infiltration orders? Each of you will disguise yourselves as the enemy's monstrous forms and follow Captain Lung Hanyue to infiltrate the 18th level. Understood. The spies began searching for enemy soldiers to imitate. Only one remained in place. carefully observing the succubus Lilith in front of him. What are you looking at? Be careful, or I'll gouge your eyes out. The spy's appearance gradually changed, his flat features suddenly becoming pronounced. His Adam's apple receded, and he became more slender. What do you mean, what am I looking at? Of course, I'm admiring my own beauty. You little brat. In the next moment, the spy had successfully disguised himself as the succubus Lilith in front of him. Chapter 311. Breaking through 18 defense lines, Su Bai's forces roar like tigers helpless. Lung Hanyue could only return to the 18th level with Su Bai's spy group. Thanks to the face of succubus Lilith, they encountered no obstacles along the way. They bypassed the front line of the demon army and infiltrated deep into the 18th level. Of course, there was no need to elaborate on everything happening right now. On the skeletal throne of the 18th level front line, the demon lord was in despair. His last elite forces were also powerless. Moreover, they had even provoked the local demon dragon, which unexpectedly was also killed by the enemy. Such a seamless coordination could not withstand the enemy. He looked at the higher-ups on both sides, each of them with a serious expression. After a while, the demon lord slowly said, "Now, it's a matter of life or death. Victory means life, defeat means death. Everyone, muster your last spirit. I believe that united we can turn the tide." At the 18th level front line, due to Su Bai using the soul lock bell, the troops were incredibly resilient. With consecutive victories, they quickly broke through the enemy's 6 defense lines, killing the dual Lotus Demon Grants, intermediate wind resistance. Resistance increased by 20, killing the Titan Crocodile Demon Grants an increase of 300,000 in strength, killing the Rainbow Yao King Grants an increase of 150,000 in agility. Su Bai nodded with a smile, very satisfied with the enhancements to his current units. With troop strength exceeding 100,000. Several heroes had also joined the battle. Even though this 18th level was the Demon Lord's stronghold, there was still no challenge at all. The 7th defense line was breached. Natasha's sniper rifle was the first to take down a leader, leading the charge. In just 15 minutes, the 8th defense line was also broken through. Yuriko lifted a massive object weighing 10,000 tons, altering the landscape and opening up a broad flat road. The Apocalypse tank successfully captured the enemy's wartime camp. This time, the operation was even faster, taking less than 8 minutes. The 9th defensive line was breached. Subsequently, the Allied forces, the Rising Sun Empire, the Soviet forces, Yuri, and the Wind of the Vatican camp advanced together, quickly breaking through 5 more defensive lines. The 14th line was also breached. Meanwhile, Su Bai reaped significant rewards, not only gaining numerous attribute points, but also discovering many precious minerals in the 10th defensive line. These minerals were all remnants from the diamond trolls that had been defeated. Su Bai left many rear troops and carts to collect resources amidst the artillery fire on the battlefield. After just 5 trips for mining, he accumulated 100 million resource points. This is no exaggeration. With over 100 million resource points, he could generate hundreds of thousands of troops continuously. Thus, even if there were some losses in the frontline troops, they could be quickly replenished through funding. However, despite the rapid progress, there was still a drawback. The 18th layer was vast, and with over 100,000 troops deployed, they were scattered and hard to manage. Once a defensive line was breached, enemy forces from other directions would quickly come to reinforce. Each time a line was broken, a few thousand troops had to be left behind to guard it. His current forces were still insufficient. The scale of operations had already escalated to large-scale troop engagements and cross-regional battles, with conquered territories measured in millions of kilometers. With less than 2 million troops, he was finding it increasingly challenging. The number of soldiers was inadequate to support the defense in multiple locations. The only way forward was to grow stronger, aiming to raise his troop limit to 100 million. This would make it easier to dominate a large nation or even a continent. He knew he still needed to grow stronger. Just as Su Bai's thoughts raced, a loud explosion erupted. A beam of explosive energy shot into the sky, creating several mushroom clouds. The 15th defensive line was breached. The boss on the 16th layer let out a roar that echoed across the battlefield. A beam unleashed countless laser rays, instantly shooting down over a dozen MiG fighters and Apollo aircraft. The momentum was overwhelming. Again, the boss unleashed a burst, revealing a glowing red sphere in the air, which then scattered numerous laser rays, inflicting massive area of effect damage around it. Although the lasers destroyed a few tanks below, they were deflected by Yuriko's shield. The super energy wave erupted from the boss's body, creating a mist of blood and flesh. Under Su Bai's command tent, the bound succubus Lilith was completely stiff. Just witnessing Su Bai break through one defensive line after another left her in shock. The soldiers manning these defenses were previously immovable, elite troops that could be considered a guard unit, or perhaps a royal army. Even after the Demon Lord had suffered greatly at Su Bai's hands, there was never a thought of deploying this force. Now, the terrifying power Su Bai displayed rendered her speechless. The might of the hundreds of thousands of troops was earth-shattering. Although the demoness Lilith felt a deep sense of unwillingness, she was now completely conquered by Su Bai's terrifying prowess. A strong individual. Su Bai as well. She believed that at this speed, the Demon Lord would definitely be unable to hold out and would have to confront him personally. This time would certainly not exceed 24 hours. Just as she thought of this, the 17th defensive line was breached. This once again reshaped Lilith's understanding. She immediately halved her earlier estimate. 12 hours. The time left for the Demon Lord was running out. Only 12 hours remained. Meanwhile, under the sky stained red by gunfire, Su Bai's face appeared exceptionally calm. After using the soul-locking bell, not counting defenses, his vitality had already reached over 7 billion. So he was in a state of continuous blood loss. But so what? An engineer could repair an injured building, and at that, one that could recover in an instant. Additionally, in Su Bai's mind, walls were being erected. These walls filled the scant remaining space in Su Bai's stone sea. The more he built, the more vitality he gained. The damage he shared also increased. He estimated that building 5 or 6 more walls would suffice. By then, even a fatal blow would feel like a mere tickle. Although he could deploy the base vehicle and continuously build walls outside, it wasn't necessary. This was because the soul-locking bell had a time limit. The shared damage time was only 2 hours. Once that time was up, using it again would require a cooldown. Therefore, building too many walls wouldn't be very useful. Enough would suffice. Another 15 minutes passed. The 18th defensive line was utterly shattered. Moreover, he had also killed 2 of the Demon Lord's high-ranking guardians. Without hesitation, Su Bai unleashed a vacuum implosion bomb, completely shattering all 18 defensive lines of the Demon Lord. Now, the enemy's stronghold was fully exposed before Su Bai. With just a command, a barrage could rain down. Chapter 312. Sacrifice to the 10 evildoers. Opening the ancient treasure chest as the state of the soul-locked spirit dissipated. Su Bai let out a sigh of relief. For now, this would be enough. He planned to push down the Demon Lord once the cooldown period ended tomorrow. Additionally, he had acquired quite a few treasures that he had yet to use, making it a perfect time to rest and enhance the strength of his troops. In the next hour, Su Bai began using various items. Some could be equipped on his units, while others directly boosted attributes in a straightforward manner. One of the pieces of equipment was particularly interesting. Magic Steel Fong, grade, relic, description, can be equipped on units with biting capabilities. This Magic Steel Fong is obtained from the ferocious Lion Tiger King. After equipping this Fong, the unit's attack power is significantly increased, adding 12 million damage during attacks. Additionally, there is a 12 chance to inflict a bleeding effect, which, once triggered, will cause the enemy to suffer continuous pain. The bleeding effect deals damage equivalent to 6 million of the enemy's health per second, lasting up to 10 seconds. Enemies in a bleeding state will immediately enter shock, reducing all attributes by 25, rendering them defenseless and turning them into easy targets. For a moment, Su Bai hesitated, unsure whether to equip it on the police dog or the war bear of his troops. After some thought, he decided on the police dog, as it was more versatile and available in greater numbers. Besides this equipment, there was another intriguing item, Crimson Blood Tear. Crimson Blood Tear, one-time use item. Description. This Crimson Blood Tear is obtained from the mysterious and terrifying blood-sucking Night Demon. It contains the evil magic of the Night Demon. Once used, the unit will enter a state of injury and bleeding. However, this is not a dead end, but rather an opportunity. Injured units can absorb each other's spilled blood, resulting in powerful healing effects. For every 100 cubic centimeters of blood consumed, 3 health points are restored, allowing the troops to continue fighting even in dire situations, turning the tide of battle with this strange power. After reading the description, Su Bai couldn't help but feel a mix of amusement and disbelief. An image flashed in his mind of 2 soldiers in a trench, licking each other's wounds to recover health. The thought was so absurd that he dared not dwell on it. After some hesitation, he decided against using it on his troops. Though they had formed a strong bond, there was no need to enhance their camaraderie further. Instead, he would save it as a reward for his subordinates, as he was sure that Pu Etian, Captain Shamate, and Xiao Liang would not refuse it. Overall, Su Bai was very satisfied with the gains from this operation, especially the rewards for increasing attributes. Although the increments are only in the hundreds of thousands, and the quantity is not large, the simplicity and straightforwardness are valuable. It provides the most intuitive enhancement to the strength of troops. Once all these items are used up, Su Bai begins to study the last treasure chest. This is a chest left behind by the historical shadows of offensive battles. The historical shadows are a peculiar type of higher being. When fighting against them, the opponent can summon shadow dancers from various planes, usually famous generals from history, whose strength is remarkable. Fortunately, Su Bai is quite resilient, and the opponent's attacks do not cause much damage. Moreover, Su Bai focuses on the opponent's higher being first, so the battle does not take too much time. and there are no significant setbacks. This chest is old and worn, with a wooden structure covered in growth rings, giving it a heavy sense of history. When Subai tries to open it, the chest triggers a prerequisite. Please sacrifice 10 historical figures and pour their blood into the groove of the wooden chest to open it. What the heck? Where can I find those historical figures in the battlefield of myriad realms? If I could return to the real world, it wouldn't be difficult to catch a few very famous historical figures. For instance, I could tie up the entire imperial family or sacrifice the former president. However, at the moment, Subai cannot do that, but he doesn't dwell on it. Luckily, points in the battlefield of myriad realms can be used to draw villains. Previously, Subai drew a large number of them, aside from some who appear to be villains but are actually military gods. The rest are a bunch of villains still locked up in Subai's Stone Sea. They are of no use at all. Just right. Using the blood of these villains to sacrifice to the chest might yield some unexpected results. One thing Subai is sure of is that those are all famous figures. Very famous figures. With a wave of his hand, 10 historical villains stand before Subai. Qingfu, Zhao Gao, Liang Ji, Dong Zhua, Lai Junchun, Li Linpu, Qin Hui, Yen Song, Wei Zhongxian, and He Shun. These 10 examine their surroundings. We pay our respects to our lord. We will do our utmost to relieve our lord's burdens. Subai surveys these historical figures and snorts coldly. Mobilization troops, bring over the list. Beside him, the mobilization troops in charge of Subai's security present a list. Subai compares the life stories of these individuals and crosses their names off one by one. It seems no one is innocent. They know what to do. The mobilization troops salute. After saying this, Subai leaves the tent. Next, gunfire erupts and cries resound from the frontline headquarters in the western capital. He stops. As the skeletal chains fall, the demon lord unbuttons his jacket. The body, covered in forbidden scriptures, revealed itself. Initially, he was prepared to sacrifice everything, offering his own body to summon greater power. However, Subai's sudden halt in attack caught him off guard. Why did the enemy stop their assault? The demoness Lilith replied, "The demon lord believes you are not his match, yet he is magnanimous and respects all beings. He has sent me back this time to discuss peace with you." Peace talks? Yes. Then tell him to withdraw his troops quickly. And I will not offend the great wall of the 10,000 worlds. Both sides can coexist peacefully. Your proposal would definitely be unacceptable to Subai. Even if you cease your attack, your brother, the demon emperor, will continue the assault in your stead. To him, there is no difference. What can be done then? I cannot change the overall situation. Lilith stepped forward and whispered, "Perhaps there is another way, which is to clear a path for Subai to directly attack the demon emperor. In that case, what difference is there between the defeated demon emperor and your own defeat? The father will not handle everyone at once, and you would be safe. But even if I clear the path for attack, will Subai trust me?" Chapter 313. Sacrificing the betrayer, summoning a notorious hero. The demon Chow Chow, the opposing side, returned the item, Crimson Blood Tear, as a gesture of goodwill. Lilith opened her palm, and a bright red blood tear shimmered in her hand. The demon lord's mouth fell open. He recognized this treasure belonging to his right protector. Once, he had wanted to exchange a piece of territory for this item, but was refused by his protector. The demon lord reached out to take it, but Lilith withdrew her hand, placing the item against her chest. "I suggest you also give the other side a treasure in exchange to show sincerity." The demon lord pondered for a moment. "I understand. Bring me my hell reincarnation. Subai will surely appreciate this grand gift." In Subai's camp, he looked at the hell reincarnation in his hand. This was the item sent by the demon lord as a reciprocal gift. The demoness Lilith watched in anger as someone who looked exactly like her spoke with Subai. She gritted her teeth in fury. "Shameless Subai? How dare you have someone impersonate me to deceive the demon lord? You deserve to die." Subai looked at her, bound tightly, and smiled. In warfare, deception is key. Any scheme or trick is fair game on the battlefield. You have no right to criticize me. Subai held up the hell reincarnation for the demoness to see. "Look, your master harbors the same ill intentions. Hell reincarnation, single-use item. Description: upon use, life is reincarnated, being reborn in a new form. The user will no longer belong to their original race, but will randomly be reborn into another race. After reincarnation, they will carry attributes from their previous life and possess a stronger foundational body. The basic attributes of the body after this reincarnation will be 5 times that of the original, letting me abandon my humanity to be reborn as another race. Though the body would become stronger, it would also turn me into an enemy of humankind, a treacherous intent." After seeing this, Lilith's expression changed. Her eyes held a flattering gleam, and her tone became frivolous. "Wouldn't it be a good thing to make your body stronger? What's so great about being human? Why not live as freely and happily as we succubi do? Perhaps you'd understand if you tried it." 5 hours later, Subai let out a long sigh. All he could say was, the succubus race truly lived up to their name. Fortunately, His willpower was strong enough. And he didn't use this cycle of hell. Since the siege would continue tomorrow, Subai returned to the previous large tent. There. The blood trough had already filled the entire ancient treasure chest. It should be ready to open now. The corpses of the 10 treacherous individuals were carried out and casually tossed into the areas where the war bears and guard dogs were kept. These beasts, drawn by the scent of blood, quickly devoured all 10 of them. By now, the treasure chest had indeed undergone a change. The originally worn-out wooden box was now stained a deep crimson. The wooden grain had become more distinct, and upon closer inspection, the rings of the wood seemed to form twisted human faces, expressions of agony, envy, and arrogance, making it extremely unsettling to look at. Pulling the ring. There was a creaking sound as Subai slowly pushed the chest open. Immediately, a heavy smell of blood rushed into his nostrils. Dazzling crimson light burst forth, gradually revealing a blood-red silhouette. The entire demon palace was dyed in the blood-red hue of the chest, and even the demon emperor, far away at the end of the 18th layer, sensed this unusual phenomenon. A rumbling echoed through the world, like the roar of a tsunami, seemingly close, yet distant. A hoarse and overwhelmingly domineering voice rang out from the void. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Who has summoned me? The laughter was incredibly overbearing, as if it came from beyond all realms. Soon, the blood shadow in the chest grew larger and larger, and a demonic form burst through the tent. It stood like a mountain on Subai's side. With a wave of its arm, crimson light instantly filled the sky. Countless blood-formed soldiers appeared ahead, beginning to attach themselves to Subai's troops one after another. Once possessed, these troops immediately slipped from Subai's control and command, as if they had been conscripted by the blood-formed beings. In the distance, the demon lord, who had been frightened into ceding the continent, watched this scene and turned from sorrow to joy, clapping and cheering. Subai? Subai? So you've come to this day? As the saying goes, ignorance is humanity's weakness, and today proves it true. Ha 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 ha. Ha ha ha. His guards, bewildered, looked at the demon lord's exaggerated laughter, completely clueless. At this moment, the Dark Lord was in a great mood. He revealed the reason. This Subai must have obtained a sacrificial treasure chest from his subordinates, which allowed him to summon more powerful spirits by sacrificing famous figures from history. However, the one summoned by Subai was not a good entity. It appeared to be a corrupted human. Everyone could sit back and enjoy the show, watching how this Dark Lord would eliminate Subai from within. Subai looked at the blood giant before him. The Frostmourne in his hand materialized. He didn't expect that by sacrificing a villain, he would summon an even more wicked being? Perhaps. But it didn't matter. As long as he could defeat this blood giant, everything would return to normal. In the distance, Lilith also rushed out of the tent. She had originally come out to persuade Subai to use the Hell reincarnation. Upon seeing the blood giant, her eyes sparkled with excitement. You brought this upon yourself. Subai? Your luck has run out. A chill swiftly spread out. The blood giant lowered its lofty head. Who dares to defy me? Subai unleashed the wind element, lifting himself into the air to meet the blood giant's gaze. I am Subai. Oh. So it's just a little human. Since I once belonged to your kind, I won't kill you. Just be at ease and work for me. The blood giant gathered a blood orb in its hand and hurled it towards Subai. Subai raised his sword and struck, cleaving it in half. You dare to resist me? Do you know who I am? I am the Dark Chow Chow, the greatest villain under heaven. Charge my army. Meanwhile, the Dark Lord issued a command for a full-scale assault. Now, taking advantage of Subai's chaos, it was the perfect time to annihilate the enemy. After that, he would negotiate with the blood giant. Chow Chow. Subai, your defeat is assured. The Dark Lord believed that the blood Chow Chow had already succumbed to darkness. Having abandoned humanity, he would never work with Subai against him. He would first eliminate Subai and then step in to negotiate with the other party. If that happened, the barrier between worlds would crumble and the realms would be free. As the relentless assault surged like a tide, Subai's forces opened fire. However, the Dark Chow Chow seemed displeased by the sudden enemy. He waved his hand, and hundreds of blood swords descended from the sky, piercing directly into the enemy ranks, causing a bloodbath to ensue. Thousands of blood swords shattered, and another group of annoying insects appeared. Chapter 314. Kirov descends with the Sword of Judgment. The Dark Lord in agony next. If you defy me, you shall die. Dark Chow Chow. It seems you have fallen into darkness after death. Subai sneered, feeling no fear at all. In fact, he found it somewhat amusing. The once great villain, who had just claimed to spare him, was resorting to the age-old tactic of using a puppet ruler to command the lords. He touched the Hell reincarnation he had just acquired, not expecting that the Dark Lord had actually assisted him this time. With this device, if Chow Chow were to reincarnate into another race, even if it were a beast or elf with a bit of humanity, he would probably feel regret for what he just did. Subai cast the Hell reincarnation. Immediately, a black lotus rapidly expanded above the blood giant Chow Chow, eventually enveloping him completely. Following that, a dark light descended. The cunning hero was taken aback. What have you done to me? You dare to rebel? You will perish along with your kin. This black light, like a forbidden rule, firmly trapped the blood giant within it. Slowly, the black lotus began to bloom. Countless names of various races from across the realms began to change, seemingly preparing to reincarnate him into a new racial life. Soon, the blood giant Chow Chow started to shrink. To his surprise, the black lotus above him also shrank, eventually becoming the size of an ordinary person. The blood color on Chow Chow gradually faded away, ultimately transforming into a human form. Reincarnation successful, Demon Chow Chow. New race, human. An explosion of realization hit Subai. The hell reincarnation wheel, which had returned the demonized human back to his original race, could actually be used in reverse. Subai inhaled sharply. This was truly an unexpected windfall. As the black lotus slowly disappeared, Chow Chow opened his eyes, incredulously looking at himself. I have returned to human form. It seemed his mind had also returned to normal. Subai gently descended, observing him. Are you the leader of this army? With sharp eyes and youthful vigor, a heroic spirit radiated from him. What happened to you? Chow Chow waved his hand dismissively. It's nothing. He glanced around. Are these iron bulls and strong soldiers all your subordinates? Yes. What a powerful army. He then gazed into the distance. Far away, the tide-like enemy, after being startled by Chow Chow's earlier attack, had now regained its composure. Those demons were once like me. Are they enemies of humanity? Subai replied. Indeed, our duty as humans is to guard the great wall of all realms and resist the invasions from various worlds. I see. Although I don't fully understand, I shall lend you my strength. He waved his hand, and above the sky, hundreds of hovering helicopters seemed to be guided by some force, radiating a golden light. Chow Chow laughed heartily, his voice echoing through the demon palace and across the realms. The human race of the 9 provinces will surely prevail. After saying this, Chow Chow's spirit scattered, as if he were reincarnating. Subai let out a sigh of relief. Regardless, the commotion just caused quite a stir, but resulted in no losses. Instead, Chow Chow unleashed his blood sword, killing tens of thousands of enemy troops. The demon lord was dumbfounded, unable to believe the situation before him. He couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. Why did he take the treasure of hellish reincarnation back then? He only wanted to tempt Subai to enhance his power. But he never expected that guy would use it to reincarnate Chow Chow, and even change the corrupted Chow Chow back to a human. Damn it, it hurts. So painful. My treasure. A guard beside him tried to advise him. My lord, the opponent is just canceling each other out. We still need to fight. Don't you have a crimson tear in your hand? Yes. The demon lord was suddenly invigorated. Their poison is my honey. This crimson tear combined with his own sacrifice is also quite powerful. In the battle against Subai, he didn't even need to think about victory. Now he was sure he could win. All troops, gather around me. He raised the crimson tear in his hand, chanting incantations, and began the evil sacrificial ritual. The hellish magic circle instantly released a strong glow, enveloping the entire battlefield in a strange atmosphere. The demon lord's body began to twitch and enlarge continuously, as if twisted by a dark force. Tentacles rapidly grew all over him, resembling the terrifying arms of demons, waving in the air. The tentacles were covered in eyes, each flickering with an evil light, as if spying on everything in the world. Suddenly, beams of lasers shot out from those eyes, instantly annihilating Subai's vanguard troops. The soldiers didn't even have time to scream before being turned to ashes by this overwhelming power. Using such power beyond oneself was a tremendous drain. Fortunately, the bloody tears perfectly compensated for the defects after the transformation. Countless beings from various realms cut their wrists, sending their blood into the demon lord's gaping maw. This way, the demon lord could continuously sustain his life force consumption, basically achieving a balanced state while maximizing his combat power. The 18th-tiered demon emperor watched all this with great satisfaction. His foolish brother was finally nearing death. If he didn't die, he would never find peace. Fight on. Hit hard. Let them both suffer, he thought. The throne of his father would then beckon to him. Subai's health points kept dropping as the buildings in the stone sea were continuously damaged. Fortunately, Subai used repairs, spending resources to restore health. However, each repair cost millions of resource points. It was incredibly expensive. If he continued to wear down resources against the opponent, it would truly hurt his wallet. Thus, Subai made a resolute decision and commanded the Kirov in the sky to move forward. These flying vessels. It is unclear what kind of spell or skill has been added by the figure in charge. Due to the great distance, the attributes cannot be detected yet. First, let's assess the strength of these airships. The demon lord unleashed a barrage at the airships in the sky. Their heavy armor absorbed the damage, and combined with the damage-sharing ability of a certain artifact, they quickly reached above the demon lord's head. The Kirov airship slowly entered bombing mode. In an instant, A brilliant light erupted, and a massive golden sword, resembling a divine judgment, descended from hundreds of meters above, radiating a chilling brilliance. The first sword to come into view was the heavenly sword. Before it even fell, its might caused the ground to tremble, and the air seemed to be solidified by this overwhelming power. When the heavenly sword crashed down, its force was like a thunderbolt, wielding destructive power aimed at the demon lord. In that moment, it felt as if space were being torn apart, a dazzling light streaking across the sky. Chapter 3:15. The Kirov transforms into the celestial sword, rampaging across the battlefield. The demon lord's grotesque tentacles, in the face of the heavenly sword's power, were as fragile as dry twigs, snapping one after another. Several tentacles were instantly severed by this strike, the cuts as smooth as a mirror, black blood gushing forth. Immediately following, the azure sword made its move. The light of the azure sword was cold and sharp, like a bolt of icy lightning. As it descended, its speed was like a flash. Wherever the blade passed, the air was cut, producing a sharp whistling sound. The demon lord, still reeling from the severed tentacles by the heavenly sword, had no time to react before several more tentacles were cut down by the azure sword. The power of the azure sword was no less than that of the heavenly sword. Each strike left deep wounds on the demon lord's massive body. These two divine swords, one strong and one agile, one imposing and one sharp, complemented each other, unleashing unimaginable power. The demon monarch trembled at the sight of the descending blades. This was overwhelmingly powerful. It seemed his brother would soon be reduced to pieces. Seizing the final opportunity for an offensive while Su Bai was still engaged with his younger brother, he knew that if he missed this chance, facing Su Bai directly would likely cost him dearly. He directed an attack on Su Bai's left flank. With a wave of his hand, plants from the countless realms of the demon world began to sprout within the demon palace. The devouring star vines, capable of consuming planets, emerged from underground with numerous tendrils. Stretching over 100 miles, the vines rapidly lifted the demon palace from the 18th underground level. The ground shifted dramatically, rising up. The Kirov airship also descended to the ground. The green vines suddenly entwined around it, seemingly aiming to strangle Su Bai's trump card. After being attacked by the devouring star vines, the Kirov airship began to lose health rapidly. The thick and malevolent vines coiled tightly around the airship like a giant python, seemingly intent on strangling it within this terrifying realm. The Dark Lord watched with delight as the Kirov airship appeared to be trapped by the vines. Believing his strategy had succeeded. Humph, let us see how arrogant you can be now. All troops, prepare to attack. The Dark Lord commanded with a voice that was both authoritative and cold. As his orders were issued, countless evil creatures from the Dark Realm surged forth like a tidal wave, accompanied by their deafening battle cries, charging towards Su Bai. However, just as the Dark Lord thought victory was within his grasp, the entangled Kirov airship suddenly erupted in a dazzling golden light. The previously descending Sky Sword and Qinggang Sword miraculously merged together, radiating an incredibly brilliant golden glow, and instantly transformed into a massive flying sword. This giant sword exuded a chillingly powerful aura, as if it were a punishment sword sent down by the gods. In a flash, the giant sword, with unstoppable force, sliced through the greedy wolf star vines that were wrapped around the airship. Those vines, reputed to devour planets, crumbled before the giant sword like fragile paper. As the vines were severed, black liquid splattered everywhere, as if the evil power within was wailing in agony. The giant sword did not stop after cutting the vines. Instead, it teleported forward along with the Kirov airship. This sudden turn of events left the Dark Lord and his army in shock. They never expected that the Kirov airship, which seemed to be in a dire situation, still possessed such formidable counterattack power. The Dark Lord's eyes widened in disbelief. He gazed at the shining golden sword and the unscathed Kirov airship, feeling a surge of intense unease. He began to realize that he had underestimated Su Bai's strength. This battle might be far more challenging than he had imagined. Thinking of this, he no longer wanted to fight. Retreat. We must escape now. When he returned, he would let his Dark Lord take the blame. After all, he could just say that when he arrived, the 18th layer had already been breached, and all the powerful beings from various realms had been slaughtered. It wasn't that he lacked strength, it was that the opponent had already set up their strategy in advance. Knowing there were traps ahead, he couldn't foolishly jump in. All troops, retreat. Return to the Dark Realm. The Dark Realm, the highest world among all realms, was dominated by it except for the human race, which had established the Great Wall of all realms with the Xianyuan sword during the reign of Emperor Xianyuan. There were still enemies lurking. An invading enemy must be annihilated. Su Bai commanded. The units composed of light prism tanks and apocalypse tanks engaged in fierce firefights with the Dark Realm monsters on the front lines. The dazzling laser beams from the light prism tanks shot out continuously, like rays of death, instantly piercing through the charging Dark Realm creatures. The Apocalypse tank charged forward like a steel beast, its heavy armor withstanding the frenzied attacks of the monsters, while its powerful firepower continuously unleashed destruction, obliterating the surrounding enemies. The battlefield was shrouded in smoke and flames, the roars of the monsters intertwined with the rumble of the tank. At that moment, the Frozen Legion suddenly surged past the front lines. These soldiers, clad in special gear, moved swiftly like a chilling storm. The freezing weapons in their hands released a powerful frost, rapidly encasing enemies in ice. The fearsome, demonic monsters, who had just been clawing and roaring, were instantly transformed into ice sculptures. Some monsters, in the moment of freezing, retained their attacking postures, their expressions twisted in terror. The soldiers of the Frozen Legion wove through the enemy ranks, leaving a trail of ice in their wake. The frozen monsters lost their ability to move, becoming living targets on the battlefield. The Light Prism tank and Apocalypse tank seized the opportunity to intensify their firepower, systematically destroying these ice sculptures. Shattered ice flew in all directions, resembling the desperate cries of the enemies. At this moment, very close to the ground, Subai finally got a clear view of the enhanced attributes of the Kirov. Kirov, Strength, 2, 6 billion, Agility, 1, 1 billion, Defense, 1, 8 billion, Health, 1, 3 billion, Skill, Bombing Assault. Similar to the classic attack method of Kirov in the Red Alert game, it can drop high explosive bombs from the air, dealing 30 million damage to enemies in a certain range with a strength value of 2, 6 billion. Skill, Slow Flight. In line with Kirov's slow movement in the Red Alert game, it reduces its own movement speed to increase defense, reducing damage taken by 40 in this state. Skill, Heavenly Sword Strike. Can summon the Qin Gang Sword and the Etian Sword to descend from the sky at intervals, dealing 80 million damage to enemies in the target area with a strength value of 2, 6 billion, and inflicting a cutting effect that reduces the movement speed of hit enemies by 40 for a certain period. Skill, Sword of Unity. When Kirov's airship health drops below 30, it can transform into a giant heavenly sword, slashing through enemies in a straight line ahead and jumping forward a distance, dealing base damage of 100 million with a strength value of 2, 6 billion to the slain enemies, while entering a brief invincible state for 5 seconds. Chapter 316. Mysterious Expert appears. Celestial Aura. Wow, it has become so strong. The wisdom of the ancestors is indeed remarkable. Subai felt elated as he looked at the strengthened Kirov. With a buzzing sound, another Qin Gang sword descended. Boom. The Demon Lord's body was cleaved in two. A green heart still throbbed violently. Originally, he was using the blood of the demon race to sustain his life. Now, his head was split open, making it impossible to absorb his own life force and continue healing. The bombs were still falling. Boom, boom, boom. The tentacles were torn apart, and one of the shells landed right next to the beating green heart. A small mushroom cloud erupted. The heart was damaged, and the Demon Lord's life was nearing its end. Save me, brother, save me. Unfortunately, the two brothers were never on good terms. Now, in this life and death moment, the one who ran slow would definitely be killed by Subai. Who would save this burden? The Demon Emperor had already fled. Watching the distant battle, the succubus Lilith felt a knot in her heart. My lord, you must hold on. The great Demon Emperor will come to save you soon. However, as she watched the bombs fall one by one, the struggling Demon Lord was running out of energy. Still, the Demon Emperor did not arrive in time to rescue him. Lilith was already in despair. She knew that the Demon Lord's brother would definitely not come to save him. This was the cruel law of the demon realm. Eliminate rivals and seize the throne. Now, she had only one last thought, which was to let the Demon Lord leave with some dignity. So, Lilith shouted at Subai, "Can you give the Demon Lord a quick end? It's too humiliating for him to die like this." Subai looked at the tightly bound Lilith with a smirk, a hint of charm in his smile. Why? Letting the enemy die in pain is the best deterrent. Why should I let him die more comfortably and quickly? Look, this guy, although he only has a beating heart, is still struggling in the blood pool, relying on his tenacious life to heal continuously. Every time he tries, I drop a few bombs. The endless pain is quite enjoyable to watch. Haha. You're not human. Lilith did not expect Subai to be such a cold-hearted person. Subai did not respond to her. How could one be gentle with enemies? There was only a biting cold. Those who are not of my kind must have different hearts. Must kill them. I'm begging you. I'm kneeling before you. I'll do anything you want. Just let him leave with some dignity, and I'm willing to do anything. Subai did not expect Lilith to kneel down. Tears were still swirling in her eyes. You? Is that all you can offer? Do you have the right to command me? If you agree to my request, I'm willing to be your slave forever without regret. We can sign a contract. A contract? Yes, a blood contract. Hey, I don't want to bleed. Then use my blood. Subai pondered for a moment and quietly said, that will hurt you. On the battlefield, dozens of swords fell again. In an instant, The demon lord's heart stopped beating. Let the soldiers at the garrison hold their ground. We must run. The demon emperor, seated in his hellish chariot, aimed to flee to the palace's end, where the path to the demon realm lay. Suddenly, the surroundings erupted in flames as countless buildings began to explode. The deafening roar sounded like the death knell of the apocalypse, making the eardrums ache. The skeletal hellhorse was already frightened by the unexpected explosions. Now it neighed in panic. The chariot rocked violently amidst the chaos, like a small boat in a storm, until it finally capsized. The demon emperor was thrown out, his once magnificent attire now disheveled. He stared wide-eyed at the fiery chaos and thick smoke, utterly at a loss. Meanwhile, the task was finally completed in the shadows. Lung Hanhua lit a cigarette. Damn it. Serving under Su Bai is really too difficult. That guy, he would eventually take over his body. However, for now, that thought should be kept to himself. Because the madness he unleashed, the chaos he created, was off the charts. Every building had to be rigged with explosives. Now the entire royal city was thrown into disarray. You're too brutal. Extinguishing the cigarette, he thought to take advantage of the chaos and see what treasures he could snatch from the royal city. Just as he had this plan, the demon palace darkened. Looking up, he was immediately startled. It was Su Bai's airship. He had seen its power before. When the holy sword fell, no one survived. Run. Quickly run out of its attack range. Lung Hanhua dashed away. He had barely run 200 meters when he collided with a man and both fell to the ground. Looking up, they were both drenched in cold sweat. The demon emperor. A human. They immediately scrambled in opposite directions to escape. After running for several kilometers, they finally stopped. Lung Hanhua then remembered that despite the demon emperor's high status, he had the ability to take over. He could have done that just now. On the other hand, the demon emperor also realized he was not Su Bai. Why should he be afraid? Beneath Su Bai, everyone else was but ants. He should have severely injured him first to extract some information. Unfortunately, it was too late now. Above them, the airship drew closer to the demon emperor. With a wave of his hand, the demon emperor conjured a wall of plant vines, sealing off all paths. Even blocking the airship outside, he continued to flee. Su Bai also detected his position on the radar. He still wanted to escape. Kirov continued to pursue him. However, there was now a wall of thorny plants in front of him. Countless green vines shot out, starting to whip Kirov in the air, obstructing his path. Su Bai gritted his teeth and opened fire. Fire with all his might. Lilith also shouted, "Don't let him get away. That little man. Focus on your task. Don't get distracted." Su Bai reproached her briefly. At that moment, a white light shot up into the sky, cutting through a neon glow. Buzz. The massive green plant wall was sliced in two. An old man burst through the barrier like a rocket. His speed was faster than Su Bai's laser weapon. "Ha ha ha, kid. Where do you think you're going?" He landed with a thud, instantly blocking the Demon King's path. "Who are you to block my way? Die." The Demon King hurriedly stopped, pointing at the old man in white. "Kid, if you want to know who I am, go ask your dear father. You won't get an answer from me." Chapter 317. The Road to the Demon Realm. The Red Alert Army gathers again, old man. "It seems you are destined to die." The Demon King waved his hand, and a puddle of green liquid splashed from his wrist. Everywhere it touched turned green. Boom. The sky-devouring demon vine erupted, trying to absorb the old man as nourishment. The vine twisted like a giant python, seemingly wanting to devour the entire world. The vines shot into the sky, aiming for the high-hanging full moon. For a moment, the moon in the sky seemed to tremble slightly, as if it would be swallowed by the vines at any moment. The demon vine exuded a chilling, evil aura, entwining towards the old man with destructive power, distorting the space it passed through. However, the old man remained calm, a glint of sharpness flashing in his otherwise tranquil eyes. Facing the howling demon vine, the old man slightly raised his hand, and the sword energy coalesced once more. This sword energy seemed to contain the ultimate truth of the universe, possessing the power to cut through all illusions. The old man gently waved his hand, and a dazzling sword energy sliced through the sky like lightning. Wherever the sword energy reached, the void shattered, and the demon vine was instantly cut into countless fragments, falling like rain. Seeing this, the Demon King was taken aback, unable to react in time when the old man unleashed another wave of sword energy. This sword energy was so fast that it was impossible to catch its trajectory. The sword energy pierced through the Demon King's body. The Demon King widened his eyes in disbelief, and then his body slowly fell, instantly turning to ashes. Su Bai arrived with a large force in a multifunctional infantry vehicle. The mobilized soldiers aimed their weapons at the old man, while tank barrels were also targeted. The person before him was quite challenging, even for Su Bai. Although the old man looked unremarkable, his displayed power was significant. He had instantly killed the Demon Lord's elder brother, the Demon Emperor. It was worth noting that even Su Bai's strongest Kirov Sky Sword could not achieve such a feat. Su Bai got out of the vehicle. "Which squad are you from? I've never seen you before." The old man slowly came to his senses, standing with his hands behind his back, exuding an air of wisdom. He stroked his beard and said, having slain over 10 demon generals and eliminated millions of high-ranking beings from various realms, Subai, you truly possess strength. The 10,000 Realms Great Wall has stood for thousands of years, and the main god space has trained countless talented individuals like Xiangyu, Lu Bu, Zeus, and Odin. Yet none have been as valiant as you. Subai felt a vague sense that this person knew far too much, indicating an extraordinary identity. Indeed, the old man continued, I am the designer of the 10,000 Realms Great Wall and the master of the main god space, Changxian. I guard this place under the orders of the Yin Huang, and I have been gathering and training human talents from countless parallel universes. This is all to protect humanity. Subai scoffed, if what you say is true, then guarding is indeed necessary. However, the strength you just displayed is extraordinary, making it seem like the Great Wall is not really needed. You could easily eliminate the enemy general with a snap of your fingers. How do you explain that? The old man replied, Young man, I do not blame your arrogance. The battlefield of the 10,000 realms is ultimately a place of trial. To ensure the future and peace of humanity, we must sever the roots here. Roots? Subai questioned. Indeed, that would be the demon realm, which continuously commands attacks here. That is the root of all calamities. Years ago, the Yanhuang emperors sensed this and attempted to rally the heroes to hunt the demons, battling for 3 days and nights in this very battlefield. Although victorious, the losses were heavy. After the demon emperor retreated, the gates to the demon realm were closed. Since then, the demon realm has not dared to invade the battlefield for 200 years. However, as the Yanhuang duo aged, the enemy began to stir again. With the human emperor absent and the demon emperor in power, I, Changxian, can only strive to maintain the balance, learning and advancing together with the human elites. The items you exchanged for points from me are all experiences and skills summarized by predecessors, each with its own experts and unique techniques. Now, I can achieve feats like plucking flowers and leaves or commanding the stars. Subai finally understood. The items from the main god space were brought by predecessors. This Changxian was sending them to more dangerous places for training while learning from their tactics, troop types, and equipment. However, despite Changxian's continuous progress, the foundation of the demon realm had not been severed, and they could still send troops to invade at any time. Subai didn't want to stay forever within the Great Wall of humanity. After such a long time, he wanted to return to his homeland where the person he cherished most was. Now, with the demon realm's passage wide open, the demon emperor wanted to escape back. It was just the right opportunity for them to track him down, slaughter the demon realm, and cut off his roots. Changxian continued, Subai, I believe you can take on this great responsibility. Are you willing? Subai was speechless. This old man was clearly stronger than him. He didn't want to go and sacrifice himself. Even with a system to gain an advantage, he didn't like to suffer. I won't go. I don't do things that bring no benefits. Changxian replied, Young man, this is an opportunity to leave your name in history. Martial arts heroes dream of achieving such a feat, don't you want that? I don't want it. As I said, I don't do things that bring no benefits. Cough, cough. Well then, what if I lend you a helping hand? Let's see your sincerity first. All right, I understand. Changxian waved his robe, and a series of glowing points emerged from his sleeves. They landed on the ground, transforming into shimmering humanoid figures, seemingly dressed as ancient people, both from within and outside the region. These are the heroic spirits left from the 10,000 Realms War, and I have collected them all. You may choose 4 to assist you. Subai examined them carefully. Each shimmering ancient figure had a name and description above their heads. He looked at one spirit holding a long spear. Zhao Yun, nickname, Dragon Daring General, description, fearless and unstoppable in battle. When surrounded by enemy forces, activates the Dragon Daring passive, increasing personal combat power by 50, with a chance to trigger a morale-boosting effect, increasing troop morale by 30 and movement speed by 20. Zhao Yun is exceptionally skilled in combat, moving like a dragon on the battlefield, instilling fear in the enemy. Wow. Zhao Yun. Changshan Zhao Zilong. Subai had previously experienced the power of Cao Cao. The Qinggang sword and the Etian sword could slay gods upon impact. The strength of these heroic spirits was incomparably powerful. Chapter 318. Only children make choices. I want them all. Why can I only choose 4? I want them all. Young man, don't be too greedy. Currently, your forces already house 1 heroic spirit, and you are at the 5th stage of the genetic lock, which can only bear 5. If you exceed that, you will explode. Does that mean 6 for the 6th stage? 7 for the 7th stage? That has the logic. But each upgrade of the genetic lock is exceedingly difficult. If you put it that way, then I really don't want to go. Don't. I see infinite possibilities in you. Just choose 4 first. After that, I'll give you this book of heroic spirits. As you continue to improve, you can summon more. Well, that's more like it. In Subai's eyes, children make choices, while adults want it all. Anyway, This often requires taking risks oneself. It wouldn't make sense not to gain some benefits from him. Since it's agreed, Subai continued to assess these heroic spirits. Napoleon, nickname, God of War. Description, possesses exceptional military command skills and strategic vision. When facing a powerful enemy army, activates the artillery manual passive, boosting the morale of all artillery units by 30 and increasing artillery operation speed by 25. Napoleon excels at winning with fewer troops, and his military thoughts and tactical concepts have far-reaching influence, instilling fear in his enemies. This Napoleon is quite good, especially with bonuses for his artillery units. Heavy firepower like the Dreadnought-class battleships, V-3 rockets, and the Shogun-class battleships can all benefit from his enhancements. Next, he looked at another one, Joan of Arc. Nickname, the Maid of Orleans. Description, possesses unwavering faith and fearless courage. When armored units suffer 30 damage, activates the Holy Light passive, becoming invincible for 5 seconds. The attack power of light attribute units is increased by 20. Joan inspired the people to resist foreign enemies single-handedly. Clad in armor and waving a flag, shining like a brilliant light on the battlefield, making her enemies feel her indomitable will. This one is also quite good. Joan of Arc can make her units invincible for a few seconds after suffering significant losses, allowing them to escape the fire zone. Additionally, she increases the attack power of light attribute units. In that case, units like the Light Prism Tank and Light Prism Tower could also benefit from the enhancement. Not bad at all. For a moment, Subai felt a bit conflicted. He could only choose 4, which was frustrating. It wasn't until he saw a man in a black robe shining with golden light that he determined his first choice. That is, the legendary first emperor of all time. Qin Shi Huang. Qin Shi Huang. Nickname, the First Emperor. Description, possesses supreme authority and dominance. At the start of battle, activates the passive of ruling the world, boosting the attack power of all troops by 200, defense by 40, and restoring health to full. Qin Shi Huang was a brilliant leader who used iron-fisted methods to conquer the 6 states, establishing the vast Qin Empire. His Majesty made the world submit, and the Qin army under his command flowed like an unstoppable torrent of steel, claiming all they passed through as Qin territory. Qin Shi Huang, the legendary First Emperor. Just looking at that golden light shining from the figure in the black robe, scenes of Qin Shi Huang leading the Qin army to sweep through the 6 states instantly flashed in his mind. The unstoppable torrent of the Qin army claimed all they encountered as their territory, and the boosted attributes are incredibly powerful. An attack power increase of 200 for all troops. What does this mean? It means all his troops will receive the bonus, unlike other heroic spirits, which are divided by unit type. Defense increased by 40, greatly enhancing the survival capability of the troops, allowing them to endure longer in fierce battles. With health restored to full, it was as if an immortal guarantee had been added to the forces. After acquiring the spirit of a historical figure, Subai took a deep breath and looked at a man with a feather fan and a silk cap, who appeared to be smiling enigmatically. He seemed to be strategizing with a composed demeanor, exuding elegance and approachability. Zhuge Liang. Nickname, Crouching Dragon Strategist. Introduction, possessing extraordinary wisdom and strategies. When entering the battlefield, activates the passive 8 array strategy, allowing the deployment of a unique formation that reduces the movement speed of enemy troops within it by 30 and increases the damage they receive by 80. Zhuge Liang is resourceful and adept at using ingenious tactics, commanding with a feather fan and a silk cap, serving as a beacon of wisdom on the battlefield, leading enemies into meticulously arranged traps from which they cannot escape. Zhuge Liang is impressive as well. While he does not enhance his own troop strength, he can increase the damage dealt to the enemy, effectively reducing their defenses. Afterward, Subai carefully read the abilities and introductions of the spirits and chose 2 more. Namely, Yu Fei, nickname, Golden Winged Rock. Introduction, possesses exceptional military talent and a spirit of loyalty and bravery. When battle commences, activates the passive loyal defense of a nation, increasing the agility of all troops by 50 and boosting the attack power of airborne units by 70. Yu Fei is known for his loyalty and valor, leading his army to numerous victories, his fierce presence akin to a war god, instilling fear in enemies on the battlefield. Zhang Xianzhong, nickname, God of Slaughter in Turbulent Times. Introduction, embodies a savage aura of slaughter and fearless courage. Upon entering battle, activates the passive Bloodbath Rage, increasing the attributes of the enemy's entire force by 1 for each enemy killed, with a maximum increase of 220, returning to initial attributes after the battle ends. Rising during chaotic times, Zhang Xianzhong is famous for his ferocious fighting style, his imposing presence causing enemies to tremble and inciting endless bloodshed on the battlefield. Yu Fei needs no further introduction. He increases the agility of all troops and provides significant bonuses to aerial units. As for Zhang Xianzhong, While the attribute increase may not seem substantial and resets after the battle, at least his troops should quickly accumulate the full 220 attribute boost during combat, which is quite impressive in its own right. For Su Bai, whether they are good or evil, as long as they are useful and can serve his purposes, he is indifferent. After completing the selection, Su Bai did not forget to ask Chong for the spirit roster. With everything prepared, the old man raised his left hand, and a golden light shone forth. A heavy, ancient sword appeared in his hand. He suddenly shouted loudly. The giant sword pierced into an alternate dimension. A beam of golden light burst forth, swiftly opening a dimensional passage. The old man has already opened a path for you with the Xianyuan sword. Once you enter, you will reach the demon realm. You won't get lost in this other dimensional maze, unable to escape for eternity. Su Bai remained silent, just staring at the Xianyuan sword in the old man's hand. Chang Xian quickly tucked it into his embrace. This item is a treasure left by the ancestors. I cannot give it to you. I truly cannot give it to you. Then I still don't want to go, said Su Bai. Chang Xian replied. Chapter 319. Treasure of the Ancestors. The Xianyuan sword is in hand. No, I have given you everything. And I have spent a lot of my power to open this path. Are you really not going? Isn't that a bit too much? You misunderstand, Senior Chang Xian. I do not covet the Xianyuan sword. It's just that the journey to the demon realm is fraught with danger. Even though I have the assistance of spirits, I still feel uneasy. The Xianyuan sword is a treasure of the ancestors and surely possesses extraordinary power. If you could lend it to me, it would increase my chances in the demon realm. When I triumph and return, I will definitely return it to you intact. Moreover, you have given me all these things. If I fail there, wouldn't your previous investment go to waste? Don't you agree? Chang Xian's expression was conflicted. He thought, if I had known, I wouldn't have given anything at all. Now that I have already given so much, if the other party doesn't go, it feels like a sunk cost. After gritting his teeth, Chang Xian finally said helplessly, all right, since you have said so, I will temporarily lend you the Xianyuan sword. But you must remember, this sword is a treasure of the ancestors. It holds great significance. You must use it carefully in the demon realm, and when you return triumphantly, you must return it to me completely intact. You must not let it suffer any damage, nor should you have any greedy thoughts of keeping it for yourself, otherwise, you will face divine retribution. As Chang Xian spoke, he solemnly handed the Xianyuan sword to Su Bai, his eyes filled with reluctance. The Xianyuan sword hovered into Su Bai's hands. A heavy blade without an edge, embodying great craftsmanship. In an instant, the power of the ancestors surged rapidly into Su Bai's heart. Next, the Xianyuan sword transformed into a beam of golden light, vanishing from Su Bai's grasp. Su Bai was startled. Where did the Xianyuan sword go? It has already merged with your body and activated your Wuxiang sword bone. Soon, you will feel the sword bones rising from the ground. When man and sword become one, you can achieve the realm of cutting through the heavens with sword energy. Just as I did earlier, Chang Xian explained. Before long, Su Bai felt a scorching power surging from deep within his body, as if countless sparks were jumping through his veins. Suddenly, a sharp pain struck him, and mysterious Wuxiang sword bones began to sprout from his body like bamboo shoots after rain. Su Bai gritted his teeth, enduring the sudden excruciating pain. As the sword bones grew, his body began to undergo wondrous changes. Around him, it seemed that sword energy was condensing, forming a sword shield to defend against sudden dangers. Under the influence of the sword bones, Su Bai's aura gradually became more powerful. He could feel a wonderful connection established between himself and the Xianyuan sword, as if the sword were a part of his body, allowing him to manipulate it at will. Su Bai slowly opened his eyes. He waved his fingers in the air, and the Xianyuan sword shot out a beam of golden light, stirring up dust across the ground. The rising magical attack of level 18 was instantly cut through by 17 layers, displaying immense power. Su Bai cupped his hands in gratitude to Chang Xian. Thank you, Senior, for your support. I will not let you down and will definitely slay the Demon Emperor in the demon realm. Of course, with such a powerful Xianyuan sword, Su Bai had no intention of returning it. After all, what was the reason to return something obtained through one's own ability? With a wave of his hand, he allowed his advance team to enter the dimensional maze. He then set off for the demon realm himself. At that moment, Zheng Ye, who had been missing for a long time, was finally found. His eyes were vacant, and he seemed dazed, as if brainwashed, mumbling incoherently, possibly uttering foul words. Lilith said, he has been infused with demonic energy and has become a demon man. There is no saving him. Su Bai replied, since my master is dead, you are my new master. I am willing to follow you into the demon realm and guide you on the way. Su Bai nodded. He was completely in the dark about the demon realm and had no idea what kind of place it was. If someone knowledgeable followed him, it might be a bit better, even if that person led him into a pit. It didn't matter. It was all about fighting and killing. He didn't take the demon realm to heart. Chang Xian said, now that Zheng Ye has become like this, it will be difficult for me to restore him to normal. Since that's the case, let us restore a bit of his sanity and make him another version of himself. With a wave of his hand, Zhengye fell to the ground, engulfed in flames. Suddenly, he became a fire being. As the flames dissipated, a new Zhengye stood up, the demon form of Zhengye, the one who had fallen in battle. Next, you will defend the Great Wall of 10,000 Realms and lead the other team members to fight. After speaking, Changxian waved his hand and vanished within the demon palace. Thus, Zhengye successfully became the version of himself he hated the most. The dimensional maze seemed like a world that folded all things. Subai could sense the unclear boundaries between high dimensions and low dimensions. Everything seemed to blend into a puddle. Perhaps humanity would never find the demon realm, or perhaps they could never truly enter it. Because it might be a world of higher dimensions or a world of lower dimensions, this remained uncertain. As Subai progressed through the dimensional maze, the divine power of the Xianyuan sword guided him along the correct path. Soon, he successfully emerged from the dimensional maze. Boom! The path formed by the chains of the void solidified into reality. In a tumultuous sway, the universe trembles, and the sun, moon, and stars all lament. The vastness of heaven and earth is desolate and boundless. At the entrance of the otherworldly dimension, the soldiers of the demon realm bow their heads in reverence. However, they soon realize that it is a human who has entered, not a demon lord or a demon emperor. This is something they have never encountered before. Each soldier appears utterly bewildered. As a human silhouette slowly materializes, at that moment, over 2 million troops have already assembled, standing ready and waiting for the final command. The demon soldiers are once again shocked to the core. They cannot fathom how a human would dare step into the demon realm, let alone bring such a massive army with them. What terrifies them even more is that this army appears right beside them, as if a nightmare has descended. Suddenly, flames shoot into the sky, instantly painting the previously silent space in crimson, with cries and sorrow permeating the air. Following that, explosions resonate through the heavens, engulfing the entire battlefield in fire and smoke. The entire force opens fire without hesitation, a torrential downpour of artillery raining down on the demon soldiers, leaving them with nowhere to flee. Zhuge Liang unleashes his powerful skill, the 8 formation strategy, causing a tempest to rise and the very earth to quake. Qin Shi Huang is not to be outdone, unleashing his own formidable skill, his roar deafening. Under the influence of Zhang Xianzhong's passive skill, Subai's troops quickly accumulate powerful buffs, their combat prowess growing increasingly formidable. They mercilessly slay every enemy in their path, their speed accelerating, showing no mercy. Soaring on the wind, Subai ascends into the sky, firmly gripping the Xianyuan's sword in his hand. He channels all his strength into the sword. As a void sword forms above his head, gripping the hilt tightly, he swings it down fiercely, unleashing a brilliant golden light that sweeps across the battlefield with devastating force, annihilating all enemies within dozens of miles, turning them to dust. Chapter 320. The succubus has betrayed us? The humiliation of the demon realm after unleashing the power of the Xianyuan sword, Subai feels utterly drained, his body weak and exhausted. The sword returns to his body, indicating a tremendous consumption of energy. Even commanding the wind elements becomes impossible, and he begins to fall uncontrollably. On the ground, the elite soldiers of the demon realm, including the blood lion and the fire bear, see this scene and immediately understand what has happened. The human who has intruded into the demon realm has exhausted himself to the point of weakness. All troops aim and fire at the descending human. But just then, a black figure swoops in, catching Subai securely in a princess carry. With a wave of her hand, countless blood bats surge forward, intercepting numerous magical attacks. The blood lion and fire bear both exclaim in shock. The figure that caught Subai in midair turns out to be the succubus Lilith. She is not the trusted aide of the demon lord. Why is she carrying a human in a princess carry? Even more outrageous is that she actively counterattacked to block the ranged damage from her own side. According to soldiers who retreated from the front lines, the demon lord has reportedly been killed. This succubus Lilith should have committed suicide in loyalty. Not only did she not take her own life, but she instead became an ally of humans. This princess Carrie, so sweet and affectionate, left the million-strong demon army around her in a daze. Not knowing what to make of it, instantly, it reignited the fury of the demon army. A noble race like the succubi actually fell in love with humans? This is simply outrageous. How humiliating. The darkest day for the demon realm. How much of that intoxicating charm did humans feed her? Damn it. The blood lion roared first, its voice echoing for miles. Even the air was filled with layers of blood mist. This is the power of high-ranking officials in the demon realm. Even the stars in the sky were tinged with a hint of blood light. Boom. On the scorched earth, the apocalypse tanks advanced steadily. More troops emerged from the entrance of the demon realm. Meanwhile, The identity of this human youth was finally confirmed. Metal armor, a well-organized and fearless army, and massive explosive firepower. This was the force that had stirred chaos on the battlefield of myriad realms, a major threat the Demon Emperor had prepared his army to confront. Subai? He actually dared to do this. He was simply courting death. The Flame Bear was enraged. This guy was incredibly arrogant, daring to come to the demon realm alone. Truly reckless. This guy must not know the terror of the knights of the demon realm that could rival the battlefield of myriad realms. Flames blazed as he roared. The shield on his chest emitted a strong light, and then a black sphere of light appeared in the sky. Just now, when you, Subai, ambushed us, our troops were unprepared and suffered heavy losses. Now, it's time for a proper showdown. Let me show you the true power of the demon realm's trump card. Within the sphere of light, countless chains glimmering with cold light shot out, casting a void confinement on Subai's army. These chains connect to hell, and once locked, the souls are directly dragged away. It can be said to be an attack method that far surpasses that of the Demon Lord. The Demon Emperor, sending his son to the battlefield of myriad realms, is merely to train him and gain military achievements by eliminating humans. True strong ones will always remain in the demon realm because this is the starting point of countless hellish nightmares. Boom. The chains clattered and made a chaotic noise. After piercing a certain distance, they quickly entered the void, vanishing from sight. When they reappear, they have emerged from the ground like massive serpents, instantly locking onto Subai's tank. Countless secret spells floated out from the chains, quickly enveloping these units. Once marked, Subai's units seemed to lose all awareness, becoming immobile. Lilith gasped at this scene, cursing inwardly. To her dismay, the guardians of the demon realm were none other than the Blood Lion and the Flame Bear, two formidable entities known throughout the demon realm. Just as Subai entered this place, he encountered these two powerful beings. His luck was truly terrible. If the chains continued to entangle, Subai would undoubtedly be defeated. The Flame Bear's void chains were a deadly move, while the Blood Lion's crimson light could visually impact Subai's troops, making it easier for the void chains to ensnare them. Buzz. In the distance, a tangled Kirov rapidly disappeared and reappeared as a massive ancient sword, slashing towards the black orb. This was an upgraded version of the legendary move that opened the gates of heaven. The black orb shattered, releasing a blinding white light and a violent wave of energy. Buzz. Another Kirov teleported and transformed into a heavenly sword, striking down with a thunderous sound of shattering. The black orb split into 12 fragments. Then, the heavenly sword descended, severing countless chains. Clang, clang. Countless chains broke, and the causal links dissipated, as if the chains had lost contact with the underworld, now reduced to mere scrap metal. The entire arena fell into a sudden silence. The demon army stood frozen in shock. They had thought that soon Subai's units would be dragged into hell by the chains, leaving no survivors. Incredibly, as the colossal beings in the sky continued to lose vitality, they teleported and transformed into a gigantic ancient bronze sword. With a swing, the gates of heaven were opened, cleaving the black orb and severing countless causal chains. This was impossible. No unit had ever escaped from these chains before, yet Subai's cumbersome Kirovs had succeeded. Could it be? The Flame Bear began incredulously, but the Blood Lion continued to ask, could it be what? In a world called Azeroth, there exists an item known as the Escape Dagger, which allows the user to blink a certain distance. Could it be? Could it be that these Kirovs are flying escape daggers, capable of jumping and teleporting, and delivering a sudden strike to the enemy? How could this be? What kind of item is so large? Is it meant for humans or giants? What kind of monster is Subai to have created such a colossal escape dagger? Not only did they escape the shackles, but they also dealt a heavy blow to the dark sphere. Are we really unable to eliminate a single human together? The Flame Bear, gritting its teeth in frustration, knew it should have taken out the massive airship in the sky first before using the chains. That would have ensured victory just now. Master, are you alright? The Demoness helped Subai up. To her surprise, the energy consumption was so great. Subai also responded. It seems I've exhausted all my power after using the Xinyuan sword. Chapter 321. Carpet Bombing. Where will you hide? Now, I will restore some of your energy, said the Demoness Lilith. With a casual wave of her hand, a fragrant aroma wafted through the air, seemingly possessing the ability to restore energy. Subai was not polite and decided to regain his energy first. It appeared that he needed to establish more power plants to maintain the energy for the Xinyuan sword. The blood-soaked sea turned the sky of the demon realm a terrifying crimson. In the distance, many demonic creatures absorbed the scent of blood and became even more frenzied and bloodthirsty. Meanwhile, on Subai's side, the dark sphere shattered and the confinement disappeared. The Red Alert army regained their fighting spirit. Boarding. Charge. Yura. Soldiers from every faction were filled with high morale. Boom. The Red Army surged like a powerful current, forcefully striking against the demon soldiers. We reign supreme. Attack again. In the void, the giant shadow of the first emperor appeared in the demon realm. With a wave of his hand, he bestowed boundless power upon the Red Alert forces. At the same time, the attributes of other heroic spirits activated, layering various skill buffs one after another. They instantly broke through 1,000,000-strong troops. It was even simpler than Subai had imagined. According to previous accounts, the demon realm was extremely dangerous, filled with powerful beings and fierce competition for survival. Countless terrifying monsters from parallel universes existed there, and one could not afford to underestimate it. A moment's carelessness could lead to death in this place. However, Subai was completely confident. Although he had temporarily lost full command of his troops due to the power outage, they would still automatically attack and counterattack. Moreover, the Kirov had unleashed a skill that instantly eliminated the enemy's powerful assault. Immediately after, the Blood Lion moved through the celestial river of the demon realm, summoning countless river demons, seemingly preparing to execute a flood strategy to disperse Subai's Red Alert army's offensive. However, Subai's firepower was fierce. With an extremely rapid rate of fire, targeting a single point and firing fiercely, he managed to create a dividing line in the river of the underworld, splitting the waters and sending them rushing toward other directions. Boom. Subai even added a super energy annihilation wave, blowing a large hole in the ground of the demon realm. The waters of the underworld flowed directly into the underground realm, and a mass of eerie energy spiraled upwards. In the void, countless twisted spirits, tragically named soul dissipators, appeared. Suddenly, the Blood Lion and the Flame Bear were taken aback. Overestimating yourselves, Subai said coldly. After witnessing Subai's true power, the two generals from the demon realm decisively retreated. However, in Subai's eyes, since they had provoked him, there was no escape for them. 200 advanced assault craft soared through the air like a pack of fierce hawks, swiftly outpacing the retreating positions of the demon army. They raced through the sky as if intending to tear the entire firmament apart. Ahead, these assault craft quickly formed a fierce bombing zone. Each aircraft was equipped with powerful weapon systems, among which the most lethal was the 120mm impact cannon. This artillery could unleash devastating firepower in multiple directions. With the whistling of shells, the ground of the demon realm was shattered, turning into a void. Massive explosions kicked up billowing clouds of dust, plunging the entire world into chaos. The once solid ground beneath their feet disappeared in an instant, replaced by an endless starry river of the demon realm, deep and mysterious. Yet, this was just the beginning. Before the demon army could react, the second wave of attacks arrived. This time, it was the Allied forces' carpet-bombing weapon, the Sentry Bomber. These colossal machines, like iron beasts, carried terrifying power. Each Sentry Bomber was equipped with 9 500-pound bombs, and once these bombs hit the ground, they would trigger catastrophic explosions. As the first bomb fell, it immediately unleashed a dense cloud of smoke, blocking out the sun. Subsequently, more bombs followed in succession, creating a barrage that enveloped everything in a storm of destruction. Blood mist filled the air, and severed limbs flew in all directions. Soldiers of the demon army, flung into the air by the explosions, struggled in despair, helplessly watching their bodies being torn apart. The ground was blasted into massive craters that led straight to the underworld, and those unfortunate enough to fall into these pits were instantly consumed by endless darkness. The shockwaves of the bombs swept through like a tempest, destroying everything in their path. In the face of such overwhelming power, the demon army felt as insignificant as ants. Subai watched all of this with satisfaction. He was pleased with his choice of Yufei. The power of the great rock soared for thousands of miles, and such devastating lethality was indeed due to his enhancement of the Air Force. Meanwhile, the enemy had also dispatched many air units to counterattack, but they were easily dispersed by the Apollo fighters. In the midst of this one-sided battle, with earth-shattering booms, countless stormy spirits suddenly surged forth from the destroyed caverns. These storms seemed to be composed of countless wailing souls, a curse that howls and roars with endless resentment and anger. When these spectral storms swept through the army of the Dark Realm, the once vibrant soldiers instantly turned into withered skeletons, their souls completely devoured and unable to return to this world. The two powerful Blood Lions and the Flame Bear also could not escape this disaster. Their bodies stiffened in an instant, then transformed into two stones emitting an eerie blue light, crashing heavily to the ground and stirring up a cloud of dust. Subai's aircraft also suffered severe damage, with some losing control in the air and ultimately crashing. However, fortunately, most of the planes managed to return to base successfully. This jolted Subai awake. Although he could easily overpower these soldiers and their general, the environment of this dark realm was far more perilous. The demons that could survive here had grown through countless trials of life and death. No wonder Chang Xian kept repeating how dangerous the dark realm was. It seemed he was referring to the overall environment. Therefore, During the upcoming march, he needed to be extremely cautious. It would be wise to first find a safe location to develop before exploring the entire Dark Realm. This approach seemed to be the safest. As for the spectral storms, Subai decided to keep his entire force close, retaining only a suitable number of high-ranking individuals as his guards. He moved forward along the route the enemy had retreated, avoiding the spectral storms while exploring. Subai believed that following their retreat path might lead him to one of their camps. Regardless of its size, it should at least be a safe place. Chapter 322. In the abyss of demons, a territory of many lords, one man stands against them all. Finally, at a place filled with frost and caves, Subai came to a halt. This was the Supreme Plain, with 10,000 demon caves. The previous Dark Realm troops had hidden themselves within these caves. Lilith flapped her wings to explain their current position to Subai. Indeed, there were quite a few glacier caves here, and it was unclear from which cave the demon soldiers had emerged. These demon caves astonished Subai. It seemed that each could contain the essence of countless stars and worlds. It was hard to say. He could only tell you that these caves connected to every divine realm across the multiverse. When summoned by the Demon Emperor, they would dispatch troops for support and protection, and the Demon Emperor would grant them permanent sanctuary and supreme rights. Subai stroked his chin, feeling as if he were among a nomadic tribe that revered a heavenly Khan. He let out a cold laugh. When barbarians encounter modern weaponry, that's when their talent for song and dance truly shines. In that case, it would be best to eliminate all these dark forces directly. Eradicate them completely to prevent future troubles. Moreover, it could sever some of the branches of the Dark Emperor's influence. Subai snapped his fingers, and over 1,000 terrifying robots crawled out, dispersing to delve into various dark layers to map their locations. Soon after, the radar images began to expand continuously, and the fog of war dissipated. The scenes inside the dark layers emerged, revealing one small world after another. There were primitive, modern, futuristic, technological, and magical realms, each like a separate little universe. Various lords and kings practiced military drills and enforced slavery in their territories, filled with brutality and chaos. Corpses piled up everywhere, and a moat of magma and blood bubbled ominously, resembling a hellish scene. Indeed, these were all vassals of the Dark Realm. Even in the strongest technological world, primitive tribal beliefs and barbaric thoughts still existed, conquering and enslaving other races. The Dark Emperor's minions, Today, you are in for a rough time. Within several worlds, the terrifying robots were dismantled, leaving only the powered cameras still capturing the unfolding scenes. The demons reveled in their wickedness, raising their deadly axes. Boom, a strike fell, and the signal broke, severing contact with the terrifying robots. They dared to invade our territory, underestimating themselves. In a divine realm, the evil Khan, shrouded in dark shadows, burst into mocking laughter. Roar. At the same time, lords within the dark layers received the invasion alerts. Waves of blood-red energy surged, and countless demon soldiers marched toward the front lines of the divine realm. Attack! They charged into the tunnels of the dark layers, launching a fierce counterattack against Subai. However, as they surged out of the layers, they were met with a barrage of tank shells. Blood and fire, life and death, a desperate struggle. The evil Khan watched this scene and immediately raised the alert level of the Dark Kingdom. This human is truly foolish. How dare he think of attacking our stronghold? Ignorance is the most terrifying trait. As the evil Khan raised the Dark Kingdom to a higher alert level, mysterious lights began to flicker in the layers, resembling shimmering runes. These lights gradually permeated the bodies of every soldier, who immediately felt their strength increase. Their speed seemed to quicken, and their reflexes sharpened, enhancing all attributes quietly by 5. Continue the attack. Do not fear death. Do not fear sacrifice. If you die, this place will become stronger. The evil Khan, observing the enhanced soldiers, felt a sense of emotion. This person is doomed. However, on the other side, heavy firepower suppression makes the increase of 5 almost negligible. The effect is too weak. And instead, the number of enemies killed is increasing, with the advantage in attack distance growing larger as well. In fact, within this magical cave, the alert level is divided into 5 levels, each with astonishing effects. At level 2 alert, the attributes of all troops will increase by 50. Once activated, a more powerful energy wave will surge from the cave, sweeping through every corner like a roaring tide. At that time, the demon soldiers will become even more formidable. Their strength will greatly increase, their speed may break limits, and their weapons will emit a chilling, eerie glow, as if they possess the power to destroy everything. Level 3 alert is even more terrifying. The cave will tremble violently, and thick liquid will seep from the stone walls, instantly hatching 100 million parasites. These parasites come in various forms. Some are tiny yet agile worms that can quickly burrow into the enemy's body for internal destruction. Others resemble beetles with hard shells. capable of withstanding powerful attacks while biting the enemy with sharp mandibles, and some can release deadly venom, plunging the enemy into despair in an instant. They will rush toward the enemy like a tidal wave, bringing immense threat and panic. When Level 4 Alert is activated, a powerful energy will erupt from the cave once again, directly enhancing all Lord's attributes by 200. The Lords will gain unimaginable strength, speed, and intelligence, allowing them to better command their soldiers in battle, and they themselves will become terrifying figures on the battlefield. Their surge in combat power will elevate the entire magical nation's fighting strength to a new height. As for Level 5 Alert, it represents a powerful unknown. A Level 5 Alert has never been triggered before, but its hidden mysterious power and the potential for tremendous change fill everyone with awe and fear. Perhaps when Level 5 Alert is activated, the cave will demonstrate a power capable of destroying everything, causing the entire world to tremble. It can be said that this magical cave and the Lords within have a symbiotic relationship. When threatened, it enhances the strength of the troops to repel enemies. Currently, the Level 5 Alert is of no use at all. Soon, the forces will drive the enemy back, led by the wild beast men, who instead charge into the magical cave. Both sides have entered a tunnel battle. The wild beastmen storm into the cave passage like deities descending. With a single punch, they unleash the power of mountains, sending countless enemies flying, crashing against the tunnel walls, blood splattering everywhere. They are incredibly ferocious, leaving destruction in their wake, and the soldiers of various races crumble before them like ants. Wails of despair echo through the air. Subai listens closely. It does not sound like a human voice, but rather resembles the echo produced by the wind entering a cave. In any case, it carries a sense of sighing. Chapter 323, The Fall of the Divine Kingdom. The War of Annihilation felt like a mere blink to Subai. Boom. This mournful cry was soon replaced by the sound of Subai's artillery. The onslaught began, severely damaging the enemy. Attempting to intercept the oncoming tanks in front of any adversary was nothing but a futile struggle, an underestimation of their own capabilities. The terrifying explosions echoed through every dark cave. The blasts turned the surroundings crimson, flames even leaping several meters out of the cave. One can only imagine how brutal that battle was. What audacity did mere humans have to dare venture into the depths of the dark caves? Boom. The alert level was raised to level 2. Countless soldiers of the dark forces seemed to be possessed by dark deities. They erupted with raging dark energy, flickering like black flames in the cave. Each soldier's gaze revealed endless killing intent and madness, as if they were messengers from the underworld. A mere wave of their hands shattered the void, capable of making stars fall with a snap of their fingers. Their power surged like an unstoppable tsunami. With each step they took, the entire cave trembled, as if the earth feared their might. When they raised their weapons, the light was like that of the apocalypse, piercing through all darkness. Each attack carried devastating force, tearing the air apart with sharp whistles. They surged forward like an invincible tide of darkness, aiming to engulf everything in this endless dark energy. Indeed, there were ambushes along the path. Subai observed the suddenly strengthened enemy with disdain. Although their power had increased significantly, it was still tenfold compared to before. So what? In front of his Red Alert army, they were nothing but weaklings. They could not change their fate of being crushed to dust by his advanced tanks, nor could they escape the fate of being shredded by the mechanical overlord. Still daring to charge? This young man was quite audacious. The evil Khan laughed loudly. In terms of troop strength, we have the advantage. In terms of timing and terrain, we still have the advantage. In terms of spatial positioning, we have even more advantage. What can a mere mortal use to fight against us? Moreover, there are still 3 levels of alert in this dark cave that have not been unleashed. Tell me, how many layers of pressure can you withstand? At this moment, unbeknownst to the evil Khan, Subai, although his offensive had slowed down somewhat, faced minimal overall losses. However, there was a drawback. Once inside the cave, the damage radius of hot weapons was too great. If they struck the walls, causing a cave-in, not only could the enemy be crushed, but his own troops might also be caught in the sudden disaster. Fortunately, the Berserk Beastman possesses formidable melee combat abilities, along with the ability to unleash the 5 elements Ghost Domain. These factors significantly enhance their combat strength. They also summoned 10,000 dogs. Woof woof woof. The gathering of thousands of dogs created an incredibly lively atmosphere. These police dogs followed them into the cave. Kill. Pounce on one. Take down one. Bite through the enemy's trachea. Currently, these police dogs are faster than cheetahs and stronger than tyrannosaurs, many times over. They are truly top-tier cosmic predators. Moreover, Subai usually feeds these dogs with the corpses of enemies, nurturing their ferocity. When they see an enemy, they leap forward to bite the trachea, drinking blood before devouring flesh. They view the enemy merely as prey, targets for their slaughter. Boom. The Berserk Beastman smashed open a massive bronze door. Following this, the first divine nation was breached. This nation belongs to modern civilization. However, it is still under a slave system. The people here consume raw meat and blood. Rat-tat-tat. Countless bullets poured out, striking the berserk beastman's muscles. However, this modern civilization, composed of hyenas, despite having developed rifles, is no match for Su Bai's Red Alert army. Guns cannot be compared to one another. Tons of giant stones fell from above. Many floating ships dropped heavy boulders onto the divine nation. As the massive stones fell, a flicker of rage and excitement flashed in the berserk beastman's eyes. They roared to the sky, bulging veins on their arms, and lifted the enormous stone, hurling it toward the floating ships above. The stone whistled through the air like a cannonball, carrying destructive power, and instantly struck one of the floating ships. With a loud bang, the ship exploded upon impact, turning into a fireball, with debris scattering like meteors. Seeing this, other berserk beastmen followed suit, roaring as they picked up the fallen boulders and hurled them at the floating ships. In no time, explosions filled the sky, as one floating ship after another fell under the berserk beastmen's attacks, crashing to the ground like falling stars, raising clouds of dust. Subsequently, hundreds of berserk beastmen charged into this modern civilization still entrenched in slavery. They swung their muscular arms, each strike carrying the force of a landslide. The berserk beastmen demolished building after building, and those seemingly sturdy structures crumbled like paper before their might, easily destroyed. The streets were left unrecognizable, with enormous cracks appearing in the ground. They charged at the enemies holding rifles, who shot in terror, but it was all in vain. The berserk beastmen grabbed an enemy and slammed him hard to the ground, then stepped on him, instantly turning him into a pool of blood. Some berserk beastmen directly seized the enemy's rifles, broke them, and then used the broken gun barrels to impale the enemies. As the devastating attacks from the berserk beastmen continued, the entire divine realm trembled violently and began to collapse. The ground kept caving in, rocks shattered and splintered, falling into the endless dark void. Then, the first divine realm was destroyed by Su Bai, followed by a second divine realm eliminated by a police dog, a third by conscripted soldiers, a fourth by terrorists, and a fifth by a tank. After annihilating 20 divine realms in succession, Su Bai finally paused. This was because he discovered many mineral deposits in the 35th divine realm. With a loud crash, the berserk beastman's massive axe struck the towering demon tree. The enormous trunk of the demon tree snapped and fell to the ground. Surprisingly, the roots of the demon tree were tightly connected to a crystal vein. Mining. Su Bai waved his hand excitedly. The mining vehicle fleet, which had been on standby, was activated again at his command. These vehicles had been out of operation for a long time due to various reasons, but now they were revitalized. They drove into the vein one by one, starting to collect valuable high-grade minerals. Chapter 324. Alert level increased. Is it strong? At this moment, a voice came from the deepest part of the demon pit. Dare you come in, dead human? The voice echoed long, carrying a tone of arrogance and disdain. At the entrance of the cave stood a strange centaur. The lower body of the centaur was dark red like blazing flames, and with each step, the ground beneath it turned into scorching lava. In its hand, it held a heavy axe that radiated a chilling light. The hood on its upper body obscured its face, making it mysterious. Hanging at its waist were many severed heads, particularly eye-catching. Upon closer inspection, although the expressions of those heads varied, some were fierce, some were despairing, some were angry, and some were terrified. They all belonged to one person, Zhao Haoyan. Su Bai's eyes widened in shock and confusion. He had a hostile relationship with Zhao Haoyan and had attempted to kill him multiple times. Now Zhao Haoyan's head appeared at the centaur's waist, which was extremely bizarre. Su Bai steadied himself and asked, "How did Zhao Haoyan's head end up with you? Didn't I kill him multiple times?" The centaur snorted coldly and disdainfully replied, "Human, what you call life and death is just child's play to me. Zhao Haoyan is merely a piece of meat on my plate." Su Bai frowned and asked again, "Who exactly are you? Why do you have his head?" The half-horseman remained silent, coldly replying, "I am the evil Khan, the Khan of the 10,000 caves. If you want to know the answer, then come in yourself." With that, he vanished at the cave entrance without looking back. It was truly strange. Zhao Haoyan had been defeated by him countless times. Even if he came back to life, how could there be so many heads for him to cut off? There was another possibility. Could it be Zhao Haoyan from a parallel universe? For a moment, Su Bai couldn't figure it out. But he knew one thing. Since the enemy used this bait to lure him, it could only mean one thing. Going in would definitely not yield any good results. If only Lung Hanyue were here right now, that would be great. That guy was born with a knack for deceit. He would have been perfect for gathering intelligence. Since he wasn't here, they would have to send a spy to investigate. Meanwhile, the evil Khan removed the head from his waist and carefully examined the faces. One was a young man. It seemed that the strongest opponent of that human outside was indeed him. This made things easier. "Come here, assemble all these heads." In truth, The evil Khan didn't recognize Zhao Haoyin at all. He had mastered a wicked kind of magic that allowed him to know who the strongest opponent of his adversary was during their confrontation. Furthermore, he could transform the heads of these opponents into a real visual representation, attaching them to a massive bead at his waist. Once he removed the bead, the combination of poetry and flesh could morph into the form of the strongest enemy the opponent had once faced. This way, since they were the enemy's foes, they would inherently be difficult to deal with. Moreover, he could create 10 more. Defeating humans would be a challenge for them, especially now that the cave had reached a level 3 alert, with billions of monstrous insects secreting substances. How did he expect to fight against me? So the enemy was numerous, all concentrated in that cave. 2 hours later, Subai received a report from the spy. The spy not only checked the situation inside the cave, but also brought out a sticky, thread-like substance. This substance quickly solidified upon encountering air, resembling a piece of amber. Upon seeing this, Subai immediately understood. This was the insect amber secreted by the mother insect, a highly valuable mineral. Now, the magical pit actually generates creatures automatically. This means that what he thought was a vast network of magical pits is not a natural geographical feature, but rather a gigantic insectoid entity. It seems that entering this magical pit is unavoidable. Gathering energy in his left hand, he quickly summoned the 5 elements ghost domain. The blood skeletons began their assault on the largest magical pit. Meanwhile, on the battlefield of all realms, atop the Great Wall of all realms, the main deity, Changxian, waved his hand, and a dark sky rapidly transformed into a canopy. The members of the reincarnation team had also completed their recovery. At this moment, all the races attacking the Great Wall of all realms were slaughtered. Now, this battle has been won. The human race can at least expect 500 years of peace. Ing Kong looked up at the canopy, where the main perspective of the battlefield appeared. Is that the demon realm? Zhanlan also commented that places like Blood Mist, Underworld, and the infernal rivers do not exist in reality. Even after regaining consciousness, the struggle also looked up at Su Bai. Now, I have returned to my demon form. Coupled with the previously weak me, I am now dual cultivating in the demonic path, with greatly enhanced strength. He then turned to Changxian and asked, "Can you open the door to the demon realm again? I want to enter and help Su Bai." Changxian stroked his beard and replied, "It's no longer possible. Sending one person into the demon realm is the limit of my ability. Now, we can only place our hopes on Su Bai." Boom. With a loud bang, countless flying insects suddenly surged from the magical pit, pouring out like a tidal wave. The blood skeletons clearly could not effectively suppress this massive swarm of flying insects. Despite their ability to harness the power of the 5 elements, unfortunately, they could only engage in melee combat, making them utterly powerless against the flying insects in the air. Even worse, the number of these flying insects continuously emerging from the magical pit seemed endless. They gathered together, forming a dark cloud that obscured the sky, instilling fear in people's hearts. Eventually, these flying insects soared into the sky and then descended like raindrops towards the ground. From a distance, it appeared that there were at least tens of millions of these insects, densely packed and countless, making one's scalp tingle. The evil Khan laughed heartily. Weak. Too weak. Humanity is simply too weak. It seems that the 10 Zhao Haoyin are unnecessary. Just the level 3 alert of the magical pit is enough to wipe out the enemy. Placed in the demon realm, these humans are nothing remarkable. The sheer number of enemies instantly frightened the members of the reincarnation team watching the canopy. Originally, they eliminated no more than 300 million enemies combined on the battlefield. Now, in just one air battle, the number of these enemies seems to approach 100 million. Su Bai, how could he single-handedly defeat such a formidable force? Chapter 325. An army of 100 million can be annihilated with a snap of the fingers. Even the dens of monsters are nothing like this. However, in the face of these massive swarms, Su Bai remained unflustered. It seems that some strength is also needed on his side. Buzz. A loud roar echoed as the earth was shrouded in eternal night. Even the dark river lost its color. Suddenly, Su Bai's powerful floating island was summoned once more. This time, after adding dozens of magical cores, its power surged dramatically. Just the giant cannon installed on the floating island, after integrating the magical core of the War Knights, evolved into the War Cannon. The cannon's body shimmered with mysterious magical light. The cannon roared as a shell whistled out, carrying apocalyptic power. The shell exploded amidst the swarm, instantly splitting into tens of thousands of guillotines, which seemed to possess life, swiftly darting through the air and precisely locking onto each target. Wherever the guillotines passed, the insects were decapitated, their green blood falling like rain. This was the skill of the War Cannon, the guillotine. Meanwhile, the wave energy cannon on the floating island, serving as the main cannon, also absorbed the magical core of the Death Knight. As the wave energy cannon successfully integrated with the magical core of the Death Knight, It evolved into the terrifying Death Wave energy cannon. Mysterious runes danced like black flames on the cannon's body, emitting a deathly aura. The Death Wave energy cannon slowly rotated, as if scrutinizing the tide-like swarm below. Suddenly, a flash of light burst from the cannon, and 3 black energy shells shot out like bolts of black lightning. As these 3 shells passed through, the space seemed to warp, reducing everything to dust. Whether it was hard rock, dense vegetation, or those clawing insects, they were all powerless before this terrifying force. The 3 black rays streaked across the ground at an astonishing speed, like the sides of death itself. Wherever they passed, the earth was torn open, creating a bottomless, arc-shaped chasm stretching for thousands of meters. Within that chasm, darkness surged, as if connecting to an endless void. In just a moment, several million enemies were swallowed by this terrifying power, disappearing without a trace. Of course, many insects quickly rushed towards the vicinity of the floating island. At this time, the upgraded Gatling cannons acted as the primary weapon to eliminate these remaining threats. Thousands of Gatling cannons poured forth their firepower, with shells exploding on the ground as if they were free of cost. Picking up a shell, one can see that these bullet casings have been affected by the core of the famine night, undergoing a transformation. The once metallic shells have now turned into black carapaces, resembling the exoskeleton of insects or the cocoons of caterpillars. In the sky, bullets fired from the Gatling gun poured down like a torrential rain. Moments later, a shocking scene unfolded. These bullets gradually transformed into flying insects during their flight. They flapped their wings, buzzing loudly, and quickly gathered in swarms. This army of death locusts surged forward like a swarm of locusts, darkening the sky as they rushed towards the remaining insects near the floating island. The two sides instantly became entangled in a chaotic and fierce battle. The enemy insects were thrown into panic by the sudden attack, wildly flailing their limbs in an attempt to fend off the assault of the death locusts. However, the death locusts on their side were even denser, holding an absolute numerical advantage. They surged forward like an unstoppable flood, quickly overwhelming the enemy insects. In just a moment, the enemy insects disappeared without a trace, leaving only some remnants on the ground. Upon closer inspection, those remnants were clearly the severed limbs and arms of the devoured foes. It turned out that the death locusts released by the Gatling gun after enhancement possessed the terrifying ability to devour all life. They acted like hungry predators, ruthlessly consuming the enemy's life, leaving behind a chilling silence. The 100 million enemies before Su Bai were utterly insignificant in the face of the floating island. Zhanlan stared wide-eyed at the sky, filled with disbelief. The massive swarm of insects was so easily defeated before Su Bai's floating island, completely exceeding her imagination. How could this be possible? Such a vast number of enemies, yet Su Bai managed to defeat them so effortlessly. Just how powerful was he? Ing Kong was equally stunned into silence, watching the intense battle scene in the sky, a sense of indescribable shock swelling in her heart. Su Bai was truly a formidable warrior, in every sense of the word. The main deity, stroking his beard, also paused, his eyes glimmering with surprise and satisfaction. He knew how difficult it was to send someone into the demon realm, and Su Bai's display of strength there filled him with hope for humanity's future. He nodded slightly and said, "Su Bai, you have indeed not disappointed us. Your courage and strength will become the beacon of hope for humanity in these challenging times." The other team members whispered among themselves, exclaiming in awe, "Incredible! Su Bai is like a war god descending to earth. With so many enemies, we wouldn't even dare to imagine facing them on the battlefield, yet he handles it with ease. With Su Bai around, how can humanity worry about its future?" The evil Khan watched helplessly as the swarm released under the third-level alert collapsed instantly under Su Bai's attack, his anger surging like an erupting volcano. "Damn humans!" The evil Khan roared to the sky, his voice filled with resentment and fury. His lower body, ablaze with flames, trembled violently, and the magma beneath him churned more fiercely. He gripped the heavy axe tightly, its cold light appearing even more menacing due to his rage. Report. The enemy has destroyed 2,000 divine nations. Report. The enemy has destroyed 235 divine nations. Report. The enemy has destroyed 3,053 divine nations. Report. The magic pit has been raised to a 4th level alert. His subordinate reported. At this point, the Khan nodded in response. "I know, no need to report anymore. Because once we reach a 4th level alert, the strength of all lords will increase by 200. In that case, it won't be so easy for humans to take down other divine nations. Moreover, with our current undefeated stance, the chances of defeating Su Bai have doubled." The evil Khan looked up at the 10 Zhao Haoyin, preparing to revive. After a moment's hesitation, he said, "Continue to hatch Zhao Haoyin, as you command. After all, in case the battle on the battlefield did not go well, these 10 Zhao Haoyin might be the key to influencing the situation." Chapter 326. Su Bai's Power, the Strongest Saint of Blue Star Dai. The magic pit could no longer withstand Su Bai's overwhelming assault. In an instant, nearly 13 regions were destroyed and collapsed. Countless leaders of divine nations within were also obliterated in the collapse. Even with an attribute burst of 200, maintaining stability for the divine nations was impossible. After the last vacuum implosion bomb exploded, the balance shattered completely. Is there any safe haven beneath the fallen nest? A tremendous energy spread, and the barrier of the divine nations was destroyed. These lords became the sacrificial offerings to the damaged magic pit, buried within. A horrifying wail echoed across the battlefield. Once again, the realm of the dead stirred. Countless arms emerged from the ground, twisting, greedy, and filled with desire. A collective of dominance, lifting the remaining divine nations. It seemed that this power was the true essence of the magic pit. Meanwhile, the evil Khan led his troops like an iron cavalry, charging forward. Under their hooves, countless black lotuses bloomed, taking root as they fell. The ground sprouted innumerable otherworldly magic flowers. This surge of power condensed, instantly altering the terrain, seemingly trying to raise a barrier to first block Su Bai's overwhelming attack and then take the opportunity to eliminate him. However, the defensive system formed by the flowers of the other shore did not have any effect on Su Bai. Standing on the floating island, Su Bai had long seen the actions of the evil Khan, which were as ridiculous as those of a clown, and he couldn't help but smirk. A horse flying in the sky. It seems that a legendary figure is needed to shift the firepower. After taking a breather in the cave of 10,000 pits, the evil Khan's troops came under concentrated fire from the enemy after the latter's repositioning. The sound of hooves thundered, and the clash of swords and blades filled the air. Despite this, the evil Khan indeed had some skills. Leading his tribal warriors, he broke through the front line of Su Bai's elemental skeletons, instantly defeating 100,000 skeletons. The battle was fierce, with armor and helmets scattered everywhere. He stood on a massive rock, declaring that even with double the power, Su Bai was still just that. Gathering the strongest combat force from the cave of 10,000 pits, he had been skillfully cutting through the encirclement on the battlefield. However, 2 of the 5 teleportation portals of the elemental skeletons had already fallen. Bones littered the ground, and blood surged and rolled. For a moment, the enemy seemed to have a resurgence. Moreover, among them, the executioners shot towards the sky, causing stars to fall. Countless evil spirits descended with terrifying wings. All the team members watching from the sky only then realized that the enemy was invincible in close combat. Missiles, machine guns, lasers, and energy cannons were unable to target the enemy, and even Su Bai's furious beasts couldn't keep up with their speed. But just when everyone was anxiously waiting for a response, many of the skeletons among the elemental skeletons turned black and died instantly. In the midst of this, the evil Khan's troops engaged in battle also perished in an instant. It seemed as though an unseen hand had unleashed this mutually destructive blow. At that moment, many highly intelligent team members had already counted the casualties on both sides. One of them reported, at least 600,000 elemental skeletons have fallen, and the enemy has lost 400,000. Just as she was trying to comprehend this, over 1 million executioners in the rear also died instantly. The scene of death was identical to that of the previous troops. The evil Khan immediately sensed that something was off. The Black Death? This is the demon realm. How could viruses or bacteria invade my troops? Even if super bacteria infiltrated my troops, they would only become nutrients for my forces. Not only could he not understand it, but even the main deity could not grasp the current situation. Su Bai's methods of attack were shrouded in mystery. The enemy had just launched an aggressive assault, moving at an extremely fast speed with an evasion rate of at least 98. Such an evasion rate was practically invincible on the battlefield. To be honest, following the original attack pattern, within 30 minutes, the melee defense system in front of Su Bai would completely collapse. The evil Khan, Chang Xian, was well aware of this. Back in the day, he had followed the 2 emperors of Yin and Huang to battle against numerous foes, confronting the myriad realms. Among them, the demon realm had dispatched this general, the evil Khan. At that time, the evil Khan led the demon troops to charge at the human army with lightning speed. His long blade swung out, and the black blade energy surged like a python towards the humans, claiming countless lives on the spot. On the vast plains of the Blue Star, he slaughtered numerous nations, resulting in nearly 200 million deaths. When the Western Sage came to assist, casting spells that shone like light, the evil Khan showed no fear. One of the great Western sages fought back valiantly, but was ultimately pinned to the blood cross and drained of life, severing the fate of the Western humans. Today, however, Su Bai stood alone, fully prepared to confront this threat. His strength had surpassed that of all the human saints in the world back then. Of course, neither the evil Khan nor the main god Chang Xian knew the attack methods that Su Bai employed. which could lead to the rapid demise of such a nimble Khan army. Even with the Xianyuan sword in hand, he had to personally engage in battle, taking the initiative to clash head-on with the evil Khan to execute a decisive strategy. This carried immense risk, venturing alone into danger. How was this achieved? For Su Bai, it was a simple yet crude method, the Iron Curtain. This device was capable of instant kill effects on both enemy and ally alike. Su Bai had tested the Iron Curtain during the 5-element skeleton array with surprising success. Thus, the enemy's rear would be the target of his second use of the Iron Curtain. After all, this kind of attack was silent and could be initiated at will, leaving no room for prediction. Under the Iron Curtain, only death awaited. With his Browning pistol flashing in hand, Su Bai shot into the sky, signaling a full assault. His right hand also revealed the Xianyuan sword, racing forth like a shooting star towards the evil Khan's formation. This time, Su Bai retained his own strength, not fully unleashing the power of the Xianyuan sword, lest he suffer from exhaustion as he had before. Boom! The entire demon realm seemed to tremble, accumulating countless energies, which erupted instantly, resembling a shooting star or perhaps a small sun rising up. Countless energy particles surged and erupted, sweeping across the vast expanse, causing the remaining enemies in the dark lair to tremble in fear. Opposite them, the evil Khan also let out a cold snort. Was the lone warrior truly invincible? Foolish. Then let me take your attack. In chapter 327, the resurrected Zhao Haoyan finally felt fear, realizing how wonderful it was to be alive. As the evil Khan clashed with Su Bai's moves, he felt an overwhelming force surging towards him, like a raging tide crashing against his body. He let out a muffled groan, spitting out blood, and flew backward like a kite with its string cut. The evil Khan endured the intense pain, filled with shock and unwillingness. He had not expected Su Bai to be so powerful, suffering such a heavy blow from this strike. He knew that if he did not retreat now, his life would be in danger. Thus, he hurriedly summoned 10 Zhao Haotians to cover his escape. Su Bai looked at the 10 Zhao Haotians with a hint of disdain in his eyes. Summoning 10 former weaklings, even if he summoned 100, would be of no use. With a swing of his Xianyuan sword, a brilliant light flashed, and instantly 9 Zhao Haotians were killed. Suddenly, the dark lair consumed the remaining life force, raising its level to 5. This entity completely awakened, continuously twisting and transforming into a bizarre creature, striking with endless pressure and power. In an instant, the ground of the underworld opened countless giant mouths. As Su Bai's troops fell into these mouths, they were incessantly chewed. The situation was quite strange. Su Bai suddenly plunged the Xianyuan sword into the ground, instantly tearing apart the largest mouth. Following that, countless golden dust particles erupted, rolling and spreading like a massive sandstorm explosion. From all directions, the forces of the Red Alert Army were covered by this golden dust. In an instant, a transparent protective shield formed around their bodies, resembling the embodiment of an indestructible being. The giant mouth could no longer devour the troops on the ground. Seizing this moment, the entire army regrouped, focusing their fire on the dark lair, aiming to take down this giant before dealing with the half-horsemen. Seeing Su Bai's immense power, 9 of the 10 Zhao Haotians were killed before they could even reveal their abilities. The remaining Zhao Haoyan was filled with terror and hurriedly supported the evil Khan to a safe place. Leaning against the wall, the evil Khan's breath was erratic, his face pale. He looked at the Zhao Haoyan beside him, feeling a surge of helplessness. He knew he was facing an unprecedented strong enemy, and if he did not quickly devise a strategy, he would likely find it difficult to escape from Su Bai's pursuit. There is now a way to enhance power. I have the Abyssal Axe, help me retrieve it. Using it to strike down enemies allows you to absorb their strength. You take 1,000 troops and circle around to the enemy's rear to seize the chance to absorb their power. There is still hope now. Even the largest blood demon cave in the demon realm will not be able to withstand it for long. It is estimated that the demon lord will bring reinforcements soon. As long as we can hold on until then. Cough cough. Zhao Haoyan listened to the words of the evil Khan, a flicker of hesitation crossing his eyes. But soon that hesitation was replaced by determination. He slightly lowered his head, speaking in a soft and sincere voice. Khan, I will not fail my mission. As long as there is a glimmer of hope, I will give it my all. Please rest assured, I will exhaust my last ounce of strength for our great cause. The evil Khan looked at Zhao Haoyan, feeling a bit relieved. He struggled to reach for his waist, retrieving the Abyssal Axe and handing it to Zhao Haoyan. Zhao Haoyan accepted the Abyssal Axe, and the coldness of the axe handle sent a shiver through him. However, just as the evil Khan looked at him with hopeful eyes, Zhao Haoyan's gaze suddenly turned cold and sinister. He raised the Abyssal Axe high and struck down fiercely at the evil Khan. The evil Khan's eyes widened in disbelief. He barely managed to utter one word before being struck by the overwhelming power of the Abyssal Axe. The axe glimmered with light, as the evil Khan's strength was absorbed like a tidal wave. Zhao Haoyan looked at the fallen evil Khan, a wicked smile creeping onto his lips. You think someone like you can command me? He felt the surging power within him, filled with excitement and pride. He raised his head to look at the floating figure of Su Bai in the sky, gritting his teeth. Su Bai, this time, you will definitely die by my hand. Previously, due to Zhao Haoyan's evil thoughts and desire to become an endless king, after being resurrected in a tangible form as 10 copies of himself, all he could think about was escaping control, seizing everything, and ruling anew. However, these 10 Zhao Haotians were also wary and hostile towards each other. There could only be one Zhao Haoyan. The other 9 had to die. Therefore, they did not engage in combat but pretended to follow orders while waiting for an opportunity in the background. And indeed, that opportunity came. Just moments ago on the battlefield, the 10 Zhao Haotians were about to use their respective powers to confront the incoming golden light when 9 of them were instantly eliminated. At that moment, the one remaining survivor finally recognized the source of the golden light. It was his greatest enemy, the eternal nemesis who had killed him several times, Su Bai. He felt even more vulnerable, unable to hold it together. At that moment, Su Bai moved with lightning speed, his power having increased more than 100-fold since the last time they met. Despair. Complete despair. Until the evil Khan handed over his prized abyssal axe to him. He finally felt a glimmer of hope for victory in this life. He would survive and develop in a low-key manner until he could defeat Su Bai and become the master of all realms. Are you still there? Lord of the Evil Cinema rules? Zhao Haoyan licked the bloodstain on the underworld and muttered to himself. You actually survived again, mortal. That ancient, heavy, and desolate voice echoed once more. Humph, I will not die. This Lord of Rules was the main deity who had revived after Zhao Haoyan's soul was collected by the Lord of Rules after being killed by Su Bai. Similar to the main deity who entered the battlefield of all realms. However, the true identity of the main deity in the battlefield of all realms was a transformation of a great general under the 2 emperors of Yin and Huang. But the identity of this King of Rules remained a mystery. It was only known that the purpose of the King of Rules was to collect fear. He gathered souls who experienced the horror cinema, collecting their fears and granting them rules to spread fear throughout the parallel blue star. Since you are still here, I ask you to take me away from here and back to the horror cinema. Zhao Haoyan was scared. He was truly afraid. If Su Bai saw him alive, he wouldn't even have a chance to think before being killed instantly. He had to ask the Lord of Rules to take him away from this place. Hee. Are you afraid? I'm not afraid. I just want to go back and see how my subordinates are doing now. All right, but I won't send you back. What do you mean? Chapter 328. Since the ghosts are unwilling to be human, Su Bai directly lets them be ghosts. Of course, you are the one I have carefully cultivated. Moreover, losing you has caused me pain for a long time. Now that I've regained you, I won't just abandon you. The words of the Lord of Rules left Zhao Haoyan confused. So what do you mean? Since I'm so important, hurry up and save me. It won't be long before Su Bai discovers me, and then I'll still die? Even you can't save me. I will help you. In the next moment, the portal of the void opened, and countless hands of rules crazily disrupted time and space. Following that, individuals of various categories were sent over. These people looked around in confusion, and there were over 100 of them being teleported one by the rules. Lord of Rules. Damn it. I just went through a horror movie. Why are you sending me more people? After just finishing a terrifying experience, this should have been a break time. You can't go back on your word. In this world, I feel a powerful negative energy that seems terrifying. Is this bizarre situation really hell? The crowd was chattering. Some individuals had already used their rule power to protect themselves against sudden attacks. Among them were his 5 former teammates, who had followed him to kill the population of 5 parallel blue stars, with each of them having killed hundreds of billions. I have sent over all the excellent seeds cultivated in the terror cinema. Next, you can command them to engage in battle. Strive to incorporate the demon realm into our rule territory. Zhao Haoyan cursed inwardly. Was the ruler of the rules an idiot? He seemed to underestimate Su Bai's strength. These more than 100 people had at most killed tens of trillions. Their power was simply not comparable to Su Bai's. Commanding these people was purely giving Su Bai experience points. Experience points. Zhao Haoyan glanced at the Xianming axe in his hand. Perhaps it would be better to make these people his experience points. Everyone come over here. On the other side, after the evil Khan's death, the strongest troops of the Wan Cave Demon Hole collapsed. Only the surviving Wan Cave Demon Hole kept repairing its wounds, emitting a series of mournful cries under the continuous bombardment of Su Bai's bombers. Ultimately, the Sentry Bomber dropped the last aerial bomb, and the Wan Cave Demon Hole was completely annihilated, transforming into a blood-red stone that was presented. Demonized Hole. Grade. Treasure of the Demon Realm. One-time item. Description. This demonized hole contains the purest evil power of the demon realm, capable of instantly transforming a troop into demon warriors. During the demonization process, the strength of the troop members will receive an unprecedented boost, up to 1,000 times. However, Great power often comes with significant risks. Demonized troop members will lose their sanity, becoming terrifying beings that know only slaughter and destruction. Impressive. A 1,000-fold increase in power. It truly is a product of the demon realm, with such high bonuses. There are just side effects. Of course, for Subai, the side effects of these frenzy buffs were bearable. He immediately used this item, injecting all its power into the Imperial warriors. After all, the small eyes were not human. Since they were willing to become demons, he would turn them into complete demons. This was called using poison to counteract poison, using evil to govern evil, and using violence to counter violence. Just after using it, Yuriko came to report. They had found a horse farm in a divine nation, which housed countless skeletal horses, approximately over 20,000, that had already been tamed. They could be led away or ridden. Moreover, these horses had bone wings growing on their sides and could fly. Yuriko asked whether to kill or keep them. All the equipped Imperial warriors were to become the most terrifying presence in the night sky. Subai waved his hand decisively, resolving the fate of these steeds. The Imperial warriors were no longer human anyway. With the skeletal horses, they could thoroughly embrace their ghostly forms. Just after Yuriko finished her report, Tanya came to update him. Master, the abyssal cavern has been cleared, and the troops can move in without being affected by the demonic weather here. All right, activate the floating island and prepare for descent. It had been mentioned earlier that the weather in this demonic realm was unpredictable. A ghostly storm had arisen in the previous location, tearing many troops apart upon contact. Even souls transformed into ghosts, joining the storm. This power was so strong that even the ruler of the demonic realm could not control it. Subai, too, could only avoid the storm's fury by retreating to the abyssal cavern. Unexpectedly, he also took down the enemy's stronghold, which could be considered a windfall. The enemies were annihilated in droves. 800 mining vehicles passed by, leveling the ground. Subai began to set up the defensive nanocore for the Sunrise Empire and arrange the surroundings. First, he would rest the troops and then inquire with the succubus about the Demon Emperor's location to deal with him all at once. Before he knew it, it was already 2 p.m. After searching the floating island for a while, he still couldn't find the succubus. Just as Subai wondered if she had betrayed him, the succubus returned, holding a bundle of flowers. I picked these Udambaluo from the Forgetting Worry River for you. Subai took them and examined the flowers closely. The Udambaluo indeed had a peculiar appearance. The black flower stems looked like they were carved from jade, emitting a mysterious and dark luster. The petals, red and thick like drops of blood, seemed to be stained with blood, each slightly curled, as if telling an ancient and sinister story. As he leaned in to smell, a strong stench of decay assaulted his nostrils, making him gag. The scent seemed to emanate from a millennia-old tomb, mingling the aromas of death and despair. Subai furrowed his brow and looked at the succubus, asking, "What is special about this flower? Why does it have such a peculiar appearance and odor?" The succubus smiled slightly, her eyes sparkling with a mysterious light. This Udambaluo is a rare flower of the demon realm. Legend has it that it grows by the Forgetting Worry River, drawing life from the essence of the deceased. It possesses powerful magic, said to awaken sleeping souls and plunge people into endless nightmares. As for its appearance and scent, they are manifestations of its magical power. Listening to the succubus's explanation, Subai grew increasingly curious about the Udambaluo. He pondered for a moment and suddenly realized something. A few hours ago, when he first met the malevolent Khan, he had also noticed this foul odor of decay. At that time, Subai hadn't paid it much attention, thinking it was just the natural smell of this desolate land. But now, reflecting on it, he was certain it was the scent released by the flower. With this thought, Subai began to understand more. Chapter 329. The Frenzy of the Undead. What purpose does this thing serve? Subai shifted the topic to the most crucial point. No matter how beautiful the flower is, even if it resembles a graceful beauty, if it can only be admired from afar and cannot be touched, it is of no use to him. The demoness explained, this thing, when diluted 100-fold, can be used as a medicinal herb, if you know what I mean. Each of our kind has a canister for easy access. Her eyes sparkled with affection. And what else? If this thing is consumed, living beings will become frenzied undead. Although they will possess immense strength, they will be unable to enjoy the pleasures of life. Subai stroked his chin, realizing it seemed to be a side effect. Fine. I'll accept the gift, but you can keep your intentions. He dismissed the demoness, fully aware of her feelings, but his focus remained on the flower. If living beings experience side effects, what about the Imperial warriors who turned into undead? Could there be a positive effect? After all, 2 negatives make a positive. It might be wishful thinking, but to Subai, the lives of these enemies were of little consequence. After all, he had already turned them into undead for the sake of power. He had one of the Imperial warriors brought forward. The warrior had completely transformed into an undead. The once spirited voice was now indistinct, but he could still hear him. Loyalty. Ugh. Here, try this. The flower was pushed in front of him. Without hesitation, the Imperial warrior consumed it. Like a zombie from a game, he frantically pulled the plant towards his mouth, making crunching sounds. Soon after, his body began to tremble violently. His eyes turned a fiery red, as if they were ablaze, and the color seemed to drip like blood. A low, terrifying roar erupted from his throat, reminiscent of a beast's growl. Feral strength surged through him, and he suddenly stood up, his presence rising like a surging tide. His muscles tensed, veins bulging, as if they might burst at any moment. His movements became more rapid, and his strength more astonishing. With a punch, the air exploded with a thunderous sound. Subai was overjoyed at the immense power he felt. The undead transformed into a frenzy, their power increasing by at least 5 or 10 times. Subai said to Boris, who was escorting him, "Very good. Let the mining vehicles start to become agricultural machinery to harvest the Adumbra flowers, and let all the warriors of the Rising Sun Empire use them." Understood. He laughed. "I want to create a powerful army of frenzy corpses." Meanwhile, the army of the spectral warriors paused by the river of the dead. "Your Majesty, the spectral storm has ceased, and we can now head to the abyssal cavern for support." The Dark Emperor rose from the river, and instantly, the entire river began to dry up. Millions of souls coalesced like cloaks behind him, emitting various mournful wails. Unconsciously, the Dark Emperor shed a tear. A servant beside him said, "Your Majesty, although the Demon Emperor and Demon Lord have departed, you should also grieve." "You are mistaken. I am happy." He chuckled. "I have always worried whether the Demon Emperor and Demon Lord could inherit my throne. Now that they are dead, it's wonderful. This shows that they were born to be useless. Handing the demon realm to them would have been a mistake." The Dark Emperor raised his head towards the abyssal cavern. "Back then, I tamed the abyssal cavern, allowing it to give birth to these 2 useless children. Today they are dead, and the abyssal cavern is now seeking assistance due to a human's request. It has lost all meaning." Suddenly, a smile crept back on the Dark Emperor's lips. "That human might be a better choice. I want to take her as my wife. Let her bear me stronger descendants to lead this demon realm." The group of spectral warriors crossed the river of the dead, galloping at full speed for thousands of miles. Suddenly, the situation changed dramatically. The terrain of the spectral land rose and fell like jagged teeth, and countless evil spirits emerged, beginning to frantically tear at the spectral horses of the spectral warriors. Chaos erupted in the vanguard. A ghostly figure swiftly leaped into the fray, starting to reap the vanguard troops. With every kill, he laughed heartily. This ghostly figure darted through the vanguard, his weapon glinting with an eerie light, each swing bringing a spray of blood. The spectral warriors looked on in terror at this sudden harbinger of death, yet were powerless to stop the slaughter. As he reveled in the carnage, his laughter grew more frenzied. With each spectral warrior he killed, his aura intensified, as if drawing strength from their deaths. His speed increased, and his movements became increasingly fierce. Wherever he went, no one could stand in his way. The vanguard army quickly collapsed under his onslaught, yet the ghostly figure showed no sign of stopping. Like an unstoppable reaper, he continued to charge towards the center. The spectral warriors fled in terror, but their speed was no match for this ghost. His power kept rising, reaching a terrifying level. His eyes were filled with madness and bloodlust, as if he wanted to destroy the entire army of the underworld warriors. Report: the underworld troops ahead have fallen, and there is a human rampaging through, causing terror in the realm of the dead. The Demon Emperor withdrew his gaze and thoughts. A human? Could it be that human? Has he already annihilated the myriad demon lairs? That's excellent. No need for me to act. Inform the 3 armies, capture him alive. Do not shoot arrows. As he turned, the wings of the undead unfurled. The wings formed from billions of souls carried him to the forefront. The Demon Emperor saw it. Indeed, amidst the chaos of thousands of troops, there was a human wielding a battle axe, slaughtering while absorbing the energy of his own fallen souls, growing stronger with each battle. Moreover, he seemed to be protected by some kind of rule. When his forces attacked the enemy, they would fall into nothingness. The enemy's attacks would also become intangible. But after evading this attack, the enemy's attacks would turn solid again, killing his own troops. It seemed that the initiative in this battle was in the hands of the opponent. Truly a fierce general. The Demon Emperor let out a hearty laugh. Amid his laughter, the human had already slaughtered over 1 million troops. The power of the underworld made him grow ever stronger. Demonic horns sprouted from his head, and demonic wings emerged from his back. It seemed that the human had returned to his peak state. Enough, enough. Such strength should be reserved for the wedding night. Boom. The Demon Emperor descended with the pressure of billions of souls. The oppressive aura radiating from him enveloped the entire battlefield like Mount Tai pressing down. The billions of souls seemingly transformed into tangible shackles, sweeping toward the rampaging human. Chapter 330. Are you going to steal a bride on someone else's joyous day? The dark power surged in the air, coalescing into countless black chains, each shimmering with eerie runes. exuding a chilling aura. The human instantly felt unprecedented pressure. Just as he wanted to resist, he found his body bound by a powerful force, unable to move. The black chains coiled around his limbs and body like serpents. And no matter how he struggled, he could not break free from this terrifying restraint. The demon emperor slightly raised his hand, and the black chains lifted the human high into the air. A hint of pride and greed flickered in his eyes. Such a fierce general will surely bear me strong offspring. The underworld warriors on the battlefield looked at the controlled human with a mix of shock and awe. They understood the unfathomable power of the demon emperor. And while this human was powerful, he ultimately could not escape the demon emperor's control. At this moment, the fire of defiance still burned in the human's eyes as he glared at the demon emperor and let out an angry roar. However, in the face of the demon emperor's terrifying power, his resistance seemed utterly powerless. Impossible. Impossible. I have absorbed millions of evil spirits. How can I not break free from this bondage? Let me leave this place. Get me out of here. Wait. I'll send you back to the horror cinema soon. A familiar voice echoed in my mind. The imprisoned person finally felt a bit more at ease. Meanwhile, the demon emperor descended, stepping on countless evil spirits, standing before this human. This human had skin like cream, a sharp chin, thin lips, flowing long hair, large eyes, and a high nose bridge with no trace of facial hair. Truly a beautiful specimen. He pinched the chin of the man before him. How about marrying me, human? Unexpectedly, the man before him coldly laughed. Marry you? With your kind? I am Zhao Haoyan. Under the rules, no one can rival me. Since you're invincible, why have you fallen into my hands? The demon emperor also sneered. I'm just trying to amuse you. Now, I want to break free from your restraints. Just watch. My power. Suddenly, Zhao Haoyan shouted. Master of the rules. Take me away. Sorry, based on calculations, you will gain stronger power. According to analysis, you cannot be transported back now. What? On the other side, the troops were regrouping. Yuriko was inspecting the rising sun troops with Subai. So far, over 10,000 Adumbra flowers had been collected, which were now being crushed and mixed into medicine to distribute to the rising sun troops. Overall, the troops had consumed 30. All right, let's hurry. According to radar, a fierce battle is about to come. It should be the master of this demon realm, the demon emperor. Just then, a demonized ninja from the Rising Sun Empire came to report the latest situation. Nowadays, the infiltrating ninjas of the Rising Sun Empire had also changed due to the influence of the materials. Their skin was shriveled, and they had grown 4 additional legs, resembling a bizarre spider. Moreover, they could fly and were extremely agile. The Master's enemy is returning after crossing the River of Hades? Returning? That is right. I heard the Demon Emperor is coming back to marry 11 wives, specifically to hold a grand wedding. Subai rubbed his chin. Is it normal in the demon realm to return home to get married in the middle of a battle? He glanced at the succubus. Master. Such situations usually occur when the Demon Emperor has lost a child and needs to quickly give birth to a new demon offspring to train and pass on the legacy. I suggest we immediately send troops to stop this. Wouldn't it be better to wait until after the wedding? It's better to break 10 temples than to disrupt a single marriage. Subai still had his morals. No. Suddenly pulling back to get married during a decisive battle suggests that his marriage partner must be a very powerful existence. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so anxious. The most important thing is, if a new demon offspring is really born right now, perhaps his power will surpass that of the current demon emperor, making the conquest of the demon realm much more difficult. Subai is someone who listens to advice. Since the new child of darkness may attract even more powerful beings, it would be better to eliminate it now while it's still in its infancy. Deploy the satellite cloud map. Currently, the souls of the river of the underworld have been drained. However, the eerie wind still lingers. The path to the heavens is difficult. Essentially, any flying units caught in this turbulence will have their souls permanently lost in the demon realm. It seems this pursuit can only take a detour. All mobile units, heed the orders and advance upstream along the river of the underworld, traversing the devil's forest and flanking from the side. We will cut off the enemy's front and rear forces, splitting them into 2 groups to encircle and annihilate them in one fell swoop. We found the nearest route. Subai's fastest mechanical troops begin to move. The long-awaited multifunctional infantry vehicles, known as the terrifying machines, rush forward at ground speed to pave the way. Along the way, they track and launch rockets at the low-level native demons in the demon realm. The toad demons are hit and explode, and many werewolf demons also fall. The terrifying machines charge into the demon horde, tearing with their claws and interrupting the demon spellcasting. The 2 forces work together to kill a large number of demons. Continuing to close in on the Demon Emperor's army, they quickly carve out a path for the heavy mech units to follow swiftly without being delayed by combat. Before long, they arrive at the Devil's Forest. The Supreme God observes all of this with surprise. It has only been less than 5 hours since the last battle. So why the urgent march? Subai, Why are you in such a hurry? Zhanlan is equally worried. The troops have not recovered from continuous combat. Many still have low health, and pursuing a fully operational enemy under such fatigue is a major military taboo. Kong shares the same concerns. Moreover, traversing the forest may conceal their tracks, but an unexplored forest could be fraught with dangers. Su Bai, you are truly bold, comments the rest of the Supreme Goddess team. Even the transformed Cold Han Yu shakes her head, unable to understand Su Bai's intentions. Su Bai, are you a heavenly sage, or just a fool trying to move mountains? The forward troops have disappeared? Su Bai looks at the Devil's Forest with some suspicion. The terrifying machines he dispatched lost contact after entering. Even the radar cannot map the situation inside. This place is a forbidden zone of the demon realm. And even demons dare not tread here. I have no idea what lies within, explains the succubus. Su Bai furrows his brow. A mere terrain dares to swallow his troops? The cave of 10,000 pits has already faced punishment. Does this Devil's Forest not realize its own peril? Under the immense pressure, Su Bai reveals the Xianyuan sword. However, he does not use it. Instead, he draws another sword, Frostmourne. At this moment, he holds Frostmourne in his left hand and the Xianyuan sword in his right. Raise your head and look towards the Devil's Forest. Chapter 331. Attack on the Demon Emperor. The multifunctional infantry vehicle blasts fiercely. Two sword marks rushed out for hundreds of miles, striking a cross-shaped energy blade. An energy explosion occurred, and the path ahead was ablaze with ice and fire. This area of the Devil's Forest let out waves of wails. Moreover, after this attack, the entire forest underwent a transformation, with phantoms shifting. Gradually, it seemed to form a large mouth. Flowers, towering trees, hornbills, and wildlife from the demon realm began to gather and merge into one, creating a terrifying unit. Teeth, or rather sharp fangs. I am eternal and indestructible, merely waiting for an opportunity. Why must you oppose me? The eerie voice of the Devil's Forest echoed out. Soon, that mouth fully revealed its true form, a massive mouth from the mantle, with sharp fangs, deep and unfathomable. Su Bai estimated that his previous units had been entirely consumed by the true face of this Devil's Forest. No wonder they could no longer be found. Entering through this large mouth was like falling into a bottomless pit. At this moment, the giant mouth seemed somewhat angry. Did you attack me? A mere little creature dares to act recklessly. It seemed that the entity had sensed Su Bai's presence or felt the power of the Xianyuan sword in his hand. Recognizing that here, Su Bai was the strongest, Su Bai sneered. My troops were eaten by you, and yet you think you have a point? Falling into my mouth was a voluntary act. It wasn't like I was fishing, waiting for willing prey. Su Bai found it amusing. This guy certainly knows how to speak in strange ways. His initial killing intent dissipated. Fine, if you don't mind, can you tell me your name? The giant mouth chuckled. The entire mouth began to slowly change shape again. The forest intertwined, birds flew about, vines spread, and various plants thrived within, returning to the original tranquil state of the Devil's Forest. A Pishio, an ancient fierce beast, only consumes without excreting. So this fierce beast was hiding in the demon realm. In that case, Su Bai didn't pursue the matter further. After all, the main target now was the Demon Emperor. There was no time to get entangled with the Pishio. Su Bai commanded his troops to bypass the Devil's Forest. This delay brought them to the foot of the Demon Emperor's city by noon on the second day. The demon city towered into the clouds, resembling a giant beast rising from hell. The city walls were made of countless piled-up bones, with still-flowing blood plasma seeping through the gaps. The city gates were wide open, like a massive mouth, with severed limbs hanging from the door. A blood pool spread outside the city, resembling a moat, with the blood within churning and bubbling, emitting a pungent metallic smell. Attack! Su Bai issued the command without hesitation. The barrels of the multifunctional infantry vehicles flashed with a destructive glow as shells screamed towards the walls made of piled corpses. Boom, boom, boom. The wall trembled violently under the fierce firepower. The guards from the other realm roared in anger. They varied in shape, some with sharp horns, others wielding spiked axes, leaping down from the walls and charging madly towards the infantry vehicles. However, the firepower from the vehicles mercilessly reaped the lives of the guards like the Grim Reaper's scythe. Missiles rained down, striking the guards and instantly exploding into blood sprays, severed limbs flying through the air. The blood, under the sunlight, displayed an eerie red hue, splattering onto the walls of bones before slowly sliding down. Suddenly, huge waves surged in the blood pool, as blood-soaked humanoid monsters crawled out. With each step they took, they left behind sticky pools of blood. These blood creatures rushed towards the multifunctional infantry vehicles. The vehicles unleashed a torrent of fire upon them. Shells and bullets pierced through the blood creatures' bodies, merely splattering more blood without inflicting any damage. Worse still, as the blood creatures approached the infantry vehicles, they extended their slimy arms to touch the vehicle's body. The infantry vehicles, upon contact with the blood, seemed cursed as their internal systems began to malfunction. The barrels, originally aimed at the enemy, slowly turned towards their own troops. Subai remained unfazed. Still playing this trick? He thought. The blood creatures had used this tactic before in the Iron Blood Demon Palace. They were immune to physical and magical damage, although seemingly invincible. One had been shot in the head by Natasha's sniper rifle, killing the mage controlling it. These blood creatures would collapse on their own. The problem was that the mage controlling them was nowhere to be seen. The issue likely lay within the Blood River. For now, he needed to teleport these monsters away. At that moment, a voice came from the wall of blood and bones. Was it a human? Subai stepped forward, unafraid. I, Subai, am here to annihilate your realm today. Did you kill the Demon Lord and the Demon Emperor? He chuckled. Yes, I killed the Demon Lord. And today, I will kill the Demon Emperor. Let you all reunite. Subai brandished the Xianyuan's sword again, intending to launch an attack on the person atop the wall, wanting them to understand their impending doom. Resistance was futile. Surrender was the only way to lessen their suffering. The outcome awaited. After saying this, the voice from the other side suddenly disappeared, as if the person had slipped away. In the Demon Lord's palace, the Demon Emperor gently touched Zhao Haoyan's belly. This child will surely become a great figure in the future. Zhao Haoyan felt like crying without tears. How did he end up as the wife of this Demon Emperor? And even bear a child for him? This kind of pain was something he couldn't express to anyone. All the resentment stemmed from the initial source, which was Subai. If it weren't for him, even if he had accidentally died, he could have entered this extravagant world and achieved a great career that would astonish both heaven and earth, ruling over the universe. But now, he had become the captive's wife. How bitter, how tragic. At this moment, the Demon Emperor's minister, Yin Mayuo, entered the hall after bowing. Humans are attacking the Demon City, and a section of the city wall has been breached. I am aware of the attack on the Demon City. I have already used the Blood River water to block it. Their assault is futile. But you say the attackers are humans? The Demon Emperor hadn't anticipated this. Wasn't the one causing trouble in the demon realm his own wife, Zhao Haoyan? How could there be a human involved? He glanced at Zhao Haoyan, who looked pale and distressed. After inquiring, he learned that the human was named Su Bai, a subordinate recently recruited by Chang Xinxin, the lord of the 10,000 Realms Great Wall. The Demon Lord and the Demon Emperor had fallen victim to his schemes. The Demon Emperor was taken aback. He had thought it was Zhao Haoyan's doing, but it wasn't. He had taken in the wrong person. Suddenly, the Demon Emperor took a deep breath to calm himself. No worries. Today, I shall marry again, formally taking Su Bai as my spouse and kicking Zhao Haoyan aside. But Zhao Haoyan was unaware of these thoughts. However, he heard that familiar and terrifying name, Su Bai. Chapter 332. The Imperial forces transform into the sanitary napkin war god. It's him. How despicable. How shameless. To chase after me to this extent. Zhao Haoyan felt a surge of anger upon hearing Su Bai's name, especially now, with 400 or 500 relentless pursuers. He felt utterly helpless, only able to seethe with impotent rage. In reality, Su Bai was not there to find Zhao Haoyan. He was there to eliminate the Demon Emperor. Zhao Haoyan had overestimated his importance, but sadly, no one cared about him. Demon Emperor, you must kill Su Bai? This guy is a menace, committing all sorts of atrocities. During his time in the human realm, he slaughtered many star systems, and the number of lives lost because of him is in the billions. The Demon Emperor raised an eyebrow and asked, do you know this Su Bai? Of course. I recall the past when he and I were on the same world. From beginning to end, in terms of legions and military strategies, I outperformed him by a wide margin. However, this guy was incredibly cunning. Every time he was about to lose, he always found a way to turn the tide. Otherwise, in my eyes, he wouldn't be worth more than an ant. Upon hearing this, the Dark Lord couldn't help but praise internally. Indeed, he is someone I have my eye on. Having slaughtered countless foes, quite evil. And with fortune on his side, not bad, not bad. This person is truly a hero. Hearing the Dark Lord praise Su Bai instead, Zhao Haoyan's eyes filled with resentment. Her body coiled around the Dark Lord's arm like a snake, and she suddenly pouted, saying, my lord, you must help me. That Su Bai has caused me such misery. Grant me some power, so I can tear him into pieces to relieve my hatred. The Dark Lord frowned slightly, a hint of disgust flashing in his eyes. He slapped Zhao Haoyan across the face, saying coldly, he is someone I have chosen. How dare you harm him? Zhao Haoyan was knocked to the ground by the slap. Blood trickling from the corner of her mouth. Her eyes filled with shock and anger, but she didn't dare to retaliate. My lord, please calm your anger. I know I was wrong. I promise, I only want to teach him a lesson and won't kill him. I will show mercy. I just want him to understand the consequences of provoking me. The Dark Lord fell silent for a moment, then nodded slightly. Humph, you better remember your words. If you dare to take his life, I will not spare you. This time, I will allow you to go, but only to temper his spirit. Don't think for a moment that I am unaware of your intentions. Meanwhile, The time-traveling troops were trying to freeze the Blood Warriors to transport them away. Unfortunately, their numbers and speed were not enough to match the Blood Warriors, and they became puppets instead. The corrupted Imperial Warriors were sent to the front lines while the rest of the troops retreated. Subai randomly issued commands. The Imperial Warriors, wielding their swords, had fervent flames burning in their eyes as they shouted, "Long live!" Shatter like jade. They charged like a surging tide toward the Blood Warriors. The Blood Warriors, controlling Subai's troops, fired their cold weapons at the Imperial Warriors. In an instant, the battlefield was filled with smoke and chaos. However, the Imperial Warriors showed no fear. As the distance closed, they quickly reached Subai's multifunctional infantry vehicle, the Grizzly tank, and the time-traveling troop units. Faced with former comrades, they showed no hesitation. In the clash of blades, Subai's original troops were eliminated one by one, and the Imperial Warriors continued to charge at the Blood Warriors. Seeing this, the Blood Warriors immediately attacked, attempting to use their fusion skills to control the Imperial Warriors. They reached out with their slimy arms, trying to seize the warriors. However, the enraged Imperial Warriors exuded a fierce aura, which surprisingly affected the Blood Warriors in return. An astonishing scene unfolded that even Subai could not have anticipated. At the moment of contact, the two began to merge. The Imperial Warriors, their skin slightly charred from the frenzy, seemed to merge with the blood creatures, drawing energy from the blood within. Once lifeless like corpses, the warriors instantly regained their human form, their muscles tightening and strength surging within them. "Kill!" they roared, their power even greater than before. They charged like a torrent of steel towards the city walls, drawing their swords high and striking down fiercely. With each powerful blow, the walls trembled and began to crumble, fragments made of piled bones falling and raising clouds of dust. Zheng Jia, who was watching the battle from the sky, was left speechless, his mind in turmoil. The transformation of these Imperial Warriors after merging with the blood creatures was astonishing. It seemed they had formed a blood essence within them, a sign of a level beyond ordinary existence. Beside him, the main deity Changxian was secretly astonished. This was not just an ordinary essence. It was the golden core formed after the fragmentation of the false core. This blood essence contained the powers of both ultimate evil and ultimate bravery, and their fusion allowed these corrupted soldiers to reach a level akin to the cosmic cultivation of the Eternal Core. The Eternal Core was known to be the stage of cultivation leading to the Cosmic Emperor level, with 5 realms below it: the Mortal Realm, the Awakening Realm, the Body Refining Realm, the Star Gathering Realm, and the Moon Transformation Realm. The Eternal Core was the 6th realm, where each individual could unleash the power of a star. In other words, their strength had already reached the level of the sun, truly embodying the god of the rising sun. Currently, the main deity Changxian's strength was only 1 level above the Eternal Core in the Star River Realm. Meanwhile, the ruler of the Demon Realm, the Demon Emperor, was another level higher, in the Chaos Realm. Those in the Chaos Realm could carve out their own spaces within chaos and unleash chaotic spells, such as chaotic storms and chaotic clones, with enough power to destroy vast clusters of galaxies. Of course, Subai did not understand these realms. He had never cultivated and was unaware of their significance. He only knew that his forces had grown stronger. The group of Imperial warriors at his command had their swords imbued with a blood-red aura. With a single strike, they could shatter solid city walls. Such walls, if placed on his home planet, would be considered the strongest material, impervious to any attack. Previously, those warriors had charged against thousands of his gray bear tanks, and only about 2,000 had survived the encounter. Among those who merged with the blood creatures, fewer than 200 remained. Yet, these 200 merged Imperial warriors instantly unleashed countless afterimages, each leaving behind a trace of blood-red energy as they plunged into the ranks of the defending demon soldiers. Like tigers entering a flock of sheep, millions of the demon realm's castle defense troops appeared like ants before them, wherever the Imperial warriors passed. The bodies of the demon soldiers were easily torn apart, blood splattered, and screams echoed continuously. Their heads rolled down like raindrops, quickly piling up into a mountain, reaching a height that seemed as grand as a famous mountain, exuding a nauseating bloody scent. Chapter 333, Crushing the Enemy Army. Sweeping thousands of miles, this power was too overwhelming. Zhao Haoyan watched as streams of tainted blood surged into his veins, feeling the natural power of the universe. Very good, Zhao Haoyan, you're doing well. Continue to demand power from the Demon Emperor. Even the Master of Rules, Zhao Haoyan's behind-the-scenes boss, sensed this evil power. Slowly, Zhao Haoyan opened his eyes. He felt that his power could control an entire star system. One could say he had a stellar-level nuclear fusion reactor within him. This power was far greater than before, when he could only slaughter one blue star in countless parallel universes. Human strength was much more formidable. After all, A planet like Blue Star also revolved around a star. And now, the power at his command could easily crush a Jupiter-sized planet without fear. It could be said that he had reached the level of a planet destroyer. Master of rules, how does my power rank with you? Zhao Haoyin, your current power has already surpassed mine. I am merely a master of a bizarre world, governing the rules. My abilities are only above that of the Blue Star. Stepping into other star systems, I cannot reach the level of a planet destroyer. Zhao Haoyin's expression remained unchanged. Oh, so you were lying when you said you could take me away from here, right? Zhao Haoyin, we rise and fall together. Although I deceived you, I am indeed of one heart with you. I hope you become even stronger through this trial. So that is how it is. Ha. Zhao Haoyin, but I don't need a burden. A glint of ruthlessness flashed in Zhao Haoyin's eyes, and he ceased to speak further. He directly mobilized the star-like scorching mental energy within him, surging like a tidal wave towards the Master of Rules. This mental energy seemed almost tangible, carrying the momentum to destroy everything. The Master of Rules felt the impact of this powerful mental force and was first taken aback, then hardened his resolve. Zhao Haoyin, you dare. If you harm me, you want to have a good ending. We are in a symbiotic relationship. He resisted with all his might, unleashing strands of rule power that intertwined into a massive web, trying to block Zhao Haoyin's mental energy invasion. However, Zhao Haoyin's mental force was too strong. Each impact caused cracks in the Master of Rules defense net. The Master of Rules began to feel fear, but still stubbornly said, you are seeking your own demise, without me. You cannot control this power at all. Zhao Haoyin remained unmoved, his mental power growing increasingly violent, slicing through the defenses of the Ruler of Rules like countless sharp blades. Zhao Haoyin, stop. We can negotiate again. I can give you all my power. The Ruler of Rules' attitude gradually softened, and he began to plead. Please, don't do this. I've always been helping you. Without me, you would have been dead long ago. The ruler's voice was filled with despair, his power rapidly depleting, and his consciousness gradually fading. Zhao Haoyin merely looked on coldly, his mental power resembling a massive vortex, pulling everything of the Ruler of Rules into it, until he completely vanished, becoming the sole master of this force. It turned out that this Ruler of Rules was a war criminal from the Blue Star who had died at the very beginning, unwilling to accept his fate. After various mixed thoughts entered this strange world, they coalesced into a region known as the Infinite Ghost Domain. And this Ruler of Rules was birthed from that ghost domain. Later, humans recorded many stories of war fanatics who were unwilling to die. Right before their deaths, they memorized all their murder plans and brought them into this ghost domain. The rules similarly emerged, further influenced by modern popular culture, particularly horror films, which also became part of the ruler's power. Zhao Haifei, what are you laughing about? The Demon Emperor asked as he watched Zhao Haoyin's expression change continuously. Zhao Haoyin quickly revealed a radiant smile. Thank you for granting me power, Subai. I will definitely capture him and present him to you. Good. Meanwhile, the main force behind Subai also charged into the outer city. The entire outer city wall had been occupied, and Subai had set up some huge cannons on the wall to prevent a counterattack from the enemy. He hadn't expected the enemy to be so strong, having condensed blood pills. In the real world, each of them could destroy a galaxy. For Horsemen of the Apocalypse, advance. From the second line of defense, the modified tanks of the Apocalypse followed the Rising Sun warriors as backup forces. Currently, this was Subai's most powerful force. At the same time, 1,000,000 troops gathered in the distance. Subai released a nuclear bomb, quickly scattering the recently assembled 1,000,000-strong army. The enemy also unleashed some earth-shattering magic. Subai used a lightning storm to counter, and both sides engaged in a destructive battle in the sky, with thunder and lightning continuously clashing. Simultaneously, waves of destructive energy, vacuum explosive shells, and proton cannons were exchanged in the air. It could be said that although the enemy was repelled in the first wave, the intensity of their attacks showed no signs of weakening. Various powerful weapons are taking turns to be deployed. Fortunately, the super weapons on Subai's side are more than sufficient. Additionally, with defensive super weapons in place, a balance can be achieved. Moreover, various magic spells do not affect the ground troops, ensuring that although the Air Force was sacrificed, the heavy armored units on the ground are protected. At the same time, Subai retained some Imperial warriors, allowing them to quickly board the Demon King X Mechs and the Steel Ronin, further enhancing their combat capabilities. It is believed that this time, the final enemy of humanity, the Demon Emperor, will certainly be defeated. As expected, good news soon arrived. On the map, the left flank army, led by Boris, advanced like celestial soldiers, unstoppable. They charged towards the core fortress of the demon capital, shattering the heavy defenses of the demon race along the way. The army successfully captured key points such as the magic energy shield generator and the magic arms factory in the demon capital. During the battle, they demonstrated unparalleled combat strength, annihilating tens of millions of enemies with overwhelming force. The spoils of this battle were astonishing. Near the magic energy shield generator, the army seized 300 large magic energy shields capable of withstanding the shock of a stellar explosion, which can be used to form a defensive circle against the enemy's apocalyptic magic. Meanwhile, the Allied forces led by Tanya on the right flank also wrote a magnificent chapter in the battle for the demon capital. Their targets were the Magic Energy Tower and the Ancient Magic Library, both of significant strategic importance. The Allied forces surged towards the Magic Energy Tower like an iron torrent, encountering fierce resistance from the demon race along the way. However, with Tanya's exceptional command skills and the courageous bravery of the Allied soldiers, they successfully broke through the defenses and occupied the Magic Energy Tower. Subsequently, they pressed on towards the Ancient Magic Library and, after a fierce battle, also managed to capture it. In these two intense battles, the Allied forces eliminated tens of millions of enemies. The gains from this operation were immensely significant for the Allies. Inside the Magic Energy Tower, they seized a large number of energy crystals from the demon race, which shimmered with colorful light and contained immense power. Rough estimates indicated that over 1 million energy crystals were captured, providing strong financial support for Subai's forces. In the Ancient Magic Library, the Allies discovered many precious ancient magic books, which recorded the ancient and mysterious magical knowledge of the demon race. These tomes were transported in bulk to Subai. Looking at these magic books, Subai felt overwhelmed and completely unable to understand them. Fortunately, he had the undead race. Although the undead race has no real use for the true magic sword, at least the wise among them can help Su by deconstruct the contents of these magical tomes. With a wave of his hand, a large group of undead sirens and skeletal mages were summoned. Subai looked at the undead before him and said solemnly, "These ancient magical books we have acquired are crucial to us. Although you are undead, you possess extraordinary wisdom and must do your utmost to interpret their contents." A skeletal mage stepped forward, the hollow sockets of its eyes flickering with eerie blue flames. "Master, we will do our best. However, the magical fluctuations in these ancient texts are exceptionally complex, and interpretation will not be easy. It will require some time." Subai frowned. Time was of the essence. We must quickly grasp the magical knowledge within and put it to use to gain a more advantageous position in our confrontation with the demonic race. The undead siren gently flapped her wings, producing a sharp sound. "Master, rest assured. Although the ancient texts are difficult, our undead race has existed for a long time and has some knowledge of ancient magic. However, to interpret these books and gain new powers, does that require your permission? Don't worry. Once you learn it, it will belong to you." With these words, the undead felt at ease. Otherwise, would accidentally interpreting these magical books and gaining new powers make their master wary? This was a serious concern. With Subai's assurance, the undead dared to boldly pick up the piles of magical books stacked nearby. After a skeletal mage had been poring over the ancient texts for a long time, it suddenly trembled all over, its bony fingers gripping the pages tightly, exclaiming in shock, This is actually the soul-harvesting dark magic. Once this spell is cast, it can instantly extract the enemy's soul and convert it into the caster's magic power. Its power is so great that it could annihilate an entire legion." The nearby undead siren also gasped in surprise, her wings flapping increasingly frantically, her voice trembling. "Master, this ancient text records the Shadow Curse, an extremely terrifying black magic. It can plunge an area into eternal darkness and chaos, tormenting the cursed with endless pain. And this curse will continue to spread. It's truly a demonic tactic." Another older skeletal mage, as if discovering a new continent, had flames leaping wildly in its eye sockets. "Incredible. There is a magic of blood sacrifice here, which uses a large amount of blood as a catalyst to open a portal to another dimension, summoning evil creatures from there to fight for the caster. The power of those creatures is beyond imagination. This is a kind of taboo-level powerful magic." Another undead siren held a book exuding a strange aura and exclaimed, "Master, this ancient text records the Doomsday Judgment dark magic, which can trigger elemental chaos in the heavens and the earth, creating catastrophic disasters. Whether mountains, rivers, or living beings, all will be reduced to ashes under this power. It's terrifying." Looking at the shocked expressions of the undead, Subai felt a mix of anticipation and concern. Subai nodded in satisfaction. The undead tribe was now like an old lady visiting a grand garden, silent in awe. "Very well, since you can read, can you also learn and master it?" Subai asked the most critical question. One of the female spirits replied, "To master this kind of magic in the ordinary world would take at least several hundred to 1,000 years. But here, the underworld soil possesses an extremely dark power, continuously expanding our magical abilities." As she spoke, the female spirit extended her palm, and a ball of ghostly fire formed a dancing naked beauty in her hand. It exploded with a loud bang, causing a chain reaction. Therefore, with an endless supply of magical energy available to us, we should be able to master these dark magics in no more than 2 hours. Alright, I will give you 2 hours. Make sure to extract all the knowledge from these dark magic books. On Zhao Haoyan's side, he was fully prepared. Rule 1. All power in the demon realm belongs to me. Rule 2. I, Zhao Haoyan, am the strongest person in this demon realm. Rule 3. All beings in the demon realm must submit to me. He established 3 rules and began to activate the power of the ruler of rules. The entire demon realm was in turmoil. Countless souls were absorbed into his body. He snorted. The power of the ruler of rules was still too weak. Although he had established 3 absolute power rules, the rules could only restrain relatively weaker beings. The demon emperor, along with his generals, and Su Bai, who was outside, were not affected. However, with enough ants, one could kill an elephant. He had already accumulated several billions of power. At his current level, and with his army, he should be able to crush Su Bai by 2 levels. All troops advance. With a loud roar, millions of 2-headed ogre troops reappeared, the scene resembling the arrival of an apocalypse. Each of them was as gigantic as a mountain, muscles bulging like hard rocks. These 2-headed ogres had upgraded to the strongest combat level in the demon realm. Leading the charge was Zhao Haoyan's hero, the ogre chieftain Kaegal. The ogre chieftain Kaegal was a terrifying presence at the pinnacle of power. He had reached the realm of eternal essence, his strength capable of destroying the heavens and the earth. His massive figure was like a shadow blocking out the sun, and each step he took caused the ground to crack, sending shockwaves outward, distorting the surrounding space with his power. Chapter 335. Once again battling. Is this a fateful duel? Attack. Countless demonic 2-headed ogres charged forward bravely, like a rushing river of stars, flowing endlessly in the underworld. This force even seemed to stir the stars to twinkle. After all, the stars had shifted. The battle was eternal and unbreakable, like a stellar explosion, with the entire city resembling a massive chessboard. The pieces were intricately interwoven. The combat strength of the Sun Empire on Su Bai's side was clearly superior to that of Zhao Haoyan's 2-headed ogres. Each attack dealt damage reminiscent of falling stars. Boom. Boom. Stars rise and fall. Even Chang Xian, who was observing from the sky, felt a sense of dread. Chang Xian looked at the battlefield in shock. This was no longer the familiar fight he knew. The warriors of the Sun Empire clashed with Zhao Haoyan's 2-headed ogres, and with every charge and swing, the cosmos seemed to witness the fall of countless stars. They were no longer mere individuals, but incarnations of planets. Their power fluctuations stirred up waves across the universe, as if the strings of the cosmos were being frantically plucked. When a soldier of the Sun Empire was struck, the light they emitted dimmed suddenly, only to erupt into a brilliant, deathly glow, akin to a supernova. The surrounding stars flickered erratically, some even transforming into meteors and vanishing. The same was true for the downfall of the 2-headed ogres. Their demise triggered energy shockwaves that caused stars deep in the universe to fall like raindrops, carving tragic trails of light through the darkness. The entire universe seemed to wail in response to this brutally intense battle. If this continued, the universe would soon become unstable. The first conflict showed a clear trend. On Su Bai's side, though the Sun Empire troops had reached a certain level of power, they were no match for Zhao Haoyan's more extensive army of 2-headed ogres. Zhao Haoyan observed the increasingly clear situation on the battlefield, a smug smile appearing on his lips. He laughed heartily, saying, "Ha ha ha, Su Bai, do you think you can contend with me? Look at this battlefield. My army of 2-headed ogres is like an unstoppable cosmic tide. Your forces are merely a mantis trying to stop a chariot. Today marks your end. I will become the sole ruler of this realm, and the universe will tremble because of me." With that, he waved his hand, and another wave of 2-headed ogres surged onto the battlefield like a roaring tide, their momentum seeming to threaten to engulf the entire universe. Despite this pressure, Su Bai did not panic. Because the so-called power level of his Sun Empire troops had already surpassed that threshold, they had condensed into a blood essence. Each fallen soldier of the Sun Empire would explode, staining the 2-headed ogres with red. The blood became increasingly vivid, drawing the 2-headed ogres in like a gravitational pull, gradually forming a blood orb in the center of the battlefield that kept growing larger, resembling a blood essence. This blood essence emitted a chilling aura, as if it were condensed from the essence of countless lives, with every line flowing with the power of destruction. In his palace, the Dark Emperor was originally gazing leisurely at the battlefield, wearing an expression of assured victory. However, when that blood sphere began to take shape, emanating a unique and terrifying aura, he suddenly sprang up from his throne, his eyes flashing with shock and greed. He immediately dispatched his most trusted aide, who transformed into a streak of black light and rushed toward the battlefield to inform Zhao Haoyan. That is the legendary Hellstar Pill. This pill contains the most mysterious and powerful force in the universe. Once obtained, it It can instantly elevate one's realm, and it must be reclaimed and presented to the Dark Emperor. Upon hearing this, Zhao Haoyin was first taken aback, but then a blazing light erupted in his eyes. His gaze towards the blood pill was like that of a hungry wolf spotting a plump prey. Haha, truly, heaven is helping me. Subai, this treasure is mine. Present it to the Dark Emperor? Humph, daydreaming. Although he thought this in his heart, he still smiled and innocently said, I won't disappoint the Dark Emperor's command. Subai? He roared, personally leading his elite two-headed ogre guard towards the direction of the blood pill. Each member of the guard was enormous, radiating black, demonic energy, their power even distorting the surrounding space. Subai sensed Zhao Haoyin's movements and his heart sank. He knew the opponent must have learned the secret of the blood pill. Trying to seize my blood pill won't be that easy. Subai bellowed and commanded the remaining warriors of the Rising Sun Empire to form a defensive formation around the blood pill, preparing for a deadly contest over it. He also mobilized his other troops to defend. At that moment, the Lich King of the Undead approached to report, Master, there is a very powerful spell in the dark magic books. It is the human sacrifice formation. Bloody offerings can condense even stronger power. Then what are you waiting for? Hurry up and practice. However, the human sacrifice formation requires capturing 1 trillion humans from all planes of the parallel universe. Subai frowned, his face showing a mix of anger and conflict. What is the difference between this and destroying humanity? I can't do such a thing. He struggled between good and evil, torn between the desire for victory and his moral boundaries. Seeing this, the Lich King hurriedly said, Master, there is another way. We can capture humans from a specific time period within the entire human parallel space. This way, we can still gather 1 trillion without truly harming all of humanity. Subai laughed, suddenly slapping the back of the Lich King's head, and said with a smile, Why didn't you say so earlier? Let us choose all the soldiers from the Sakura Nation in all parallel universes after August 1st, 1931, to be sacrificed. Now, he considered it a chance to eliminate 3 pests at once, striking down the militaristic Sakura Nation, defeating Zhao Haoyin's forces in front of him, and gaining control over the demon realm. In less than 10 minutes, a massive and eerie blood sacrifice altar slowly rose from the ground in the rear camp. Surrounding the altar, a blood mist began to spread, filled with chilling sounds of flesh and blood howling and wailing. As the altar continued to rise, the blood mist thickened, revealing countless illusory figures struggling and writhing within. These figures, clad in military uniforms, bore twisted and fearful expressions, their souls bound by the altar's power, unable to escape. As the blood sacrifice formation began to operate, beams of blood-red light shot up from the altar, piercing the cosmic starry sky, reflecting off the battlefield's blood essence. As if wanting to draw the entire universe into this bloody feast, the surrounding space began to twist and ripple under the impact of this power, trembling in anticipation of the impending horror. Boom! A star fell and exploded. The two-headed ogre chieftain suddenly unleashed a star explosion. Zhao Haoyin behind him strolled leisurely across the battlefield. Suddenly, he spotted the bloody formation in the distance and couldn't help but snort coldly. What tricks are you playing, Subai? You can't defeat me. This time, you must die. Chapter 336. Zhao Haoyin finally went wild, looking down on the 3 realms and slaughtering the 5 elements. Bring it on. A wave of energy surged, instantly triggering a star explosion along its path. The Ghost King Mecha X absorbed all the damage. Boom. The powerful force shattered the entire mecha skeleton, exposing its core. Humph. Like a mantis trying to stop a chariot, Zhao Haoyin lightly tapped the void with his feet, creating ripples in the demon realm. In an instant, fueled by stellar power, he easily crushed the Ghost King X. Ha! The blood essence is mine. A powerful barrier emerged, engulfing the blood essence like a vast mouth in the void, continuously devouring it with the force of the cosmic wilderness. At the same time, countless blood chains emerged, binding all the second wave of allied forces rushing to Subai's aid, while their power was also deeply plundered by Zhao Haoyin. Ha! Subai, the blood essence is now in my hands. What do you have left to fight me with? A nuclear bomb. In the void, Subai summoned a nuclear bomb from the east, overestimating oneself. As a shadow flashed, a swift strike sent the nuclear bomb off its intended course, flying into the endless void of the demon realm. Child's play. The main god, witnessing all this, trembled with both hands, filled with regret. Despite mastering the 8 trigrams and mechanical structures, he realized he was not the most cunning under the Emperor's command. The main god space has also been established. Even so, despite all the calculations made, no one anticipated that there would be such a monstrous human, living and dying multiple times, breaking free from the constraints of the realms, making it impossible to predict. He has ultimately become a significant threat to humanity. If only I had foreseen this, Zhao Haoyin earlier, I would have eliminated him the moment he was still weak. But what good does that do now? With a sigh, the members of the reincarnation team looked at Chang Xian in surprise. The main god, has the situation truly reached an irreversible point? Indeed, Zhao Haoyan's power will continue to rise as he devours the blood essence, and no one can stand in his way. Leng Hanyue suggested, in that case, let's withdraw Su Bai first, and let Zhao Haoyan and the Demon King fight it out. We can then take advantage of the situation. The main god shook his head repeatedly. It's too late, far too late. Not to mention whether these two will actually fight. If they do determine who is stronger, then Su Bai and all of us will not be able to deal with the outcome. The Blue Star will also not be able to protect itself. Upon hearing the main god's words, everyone realized that the ultimate moment had arrived. Everything was beyond change, and they could only watch helplessly as events unfolded in the sky. As expected, everything was as the main god had predicted. Su Bai? Death. A colossal hand descended, accompanied by countless two-headed ogres. The force was overwhelming, capable of destroying everything. Zhao Haoyan dared to privately consume the Demon Emperor's blood essence. 10 demon generals charged in from behind, unleashing countless demon soldiers, preparing to attack Zhao Haoyan from behind. Humph! You dare to disturb me. In an instant, the massive beast carrying countless two-headed ogres suddenly turned back and charged towards the 10 demon generals. The giant hand swept through with immense force, sending the demon soldiers tumbling in all directions. The two-headed ogres roared excitedly, baring their sharp fangs as they pounced on the demon soldiers. Although these ogres could not use magic, their strong physiques and brute strength allowed them to rampage through the ranks of demon soldiers. They easily tore through the soldiers' armor with their massive claws and bit into their bodies, blood splattering everywhere. Some two-headed ogres even swallowed the demon soldiers whole, producing chilling gurgling sounds as they gulped. Furious, the demon generals commanded their magical powers to attack the giant hand and the two-headed ogres. But Zhao Haoyan would not allow them to succeed. He increased his power output, swinging the giant hand fiercely to repel the demon generals' attacks while urging the two-headed ogres to hasten their consumption of the demon soldiers. The screams of the demon soldiers echoed continuously, and after devouring the soldiers, the two-headed ogres became even more robust and powerful. Under Zhao Haoyan's command, they turned and charged towards the 10 demon generals. The demon generals fought valiantly, but the situation had become difficult to reverse. One of the generals unleashed a powerful magical shield, attempting to withstand the charge of the ogres. However, the two-headed ogres, undeterred by the blinding magic light, crashed into it recklessly. With a series of grating sounds, the shield was cracked under their brute force, and then it shattered with a loud bang. At that moment, Zhao Haoyan exerted his strength again, his enormous hand pressing down as if to engulf the entire sky. The demon generals were suppressed by this overwhelming power, moving sluggishly. They were horrified to find that their magical energy was not functioning smoothly under this pressure. The two-headed ogres seized the opportunity, and one particularly strong ogre leaped high, biting down on one of the generals' necks. Its sharp fangs sank deep, and the general struggled in pain, gripping the ogre's head tightly, but unable to break free. With the ogre's violent shaking, the general's body was tossed around like a candle in the wind, blood spraying like a fountain. The other generals attempted to rescue him, but were entangled by more two-headed ogres. Some were overwhelmed by multiple ogres at once, their claws tearing at the generals' bodies. In an instant, the generals' armor was shredded, and their bodies were left in a bloody mess. Amid the chaotic battle, the magical attacks of the generals grew weaker, while the ogres' assaults became increasingly ferocious. Finally, with a thunderous roar, the remaining two-headed ogres pounced on the last few generals. They completely engulfed the generals, and their desperate screams gradually faded into the sounds of bloody chewing and swallowing. All 10 generals were wiped out, and Zhao Haoyan stood in the void, laughing maniacally as he savored the fruit of his victory. Inside the demon palace, the demon realm ministers and military leaders stared at the bloody scene in the void, stunned into silence. How dare this traitor act so boldly? An elderly minister trembled with rage, his wand shaking slightly in his hand. He was once your wife, but now he harbors wild ambitions, plotting against the generals and hoarding the blood elixirs, clearly aiming to seize power in the demon realm. We cannot sit idly by. Such wickedness deserves 1,000 cuts. However, some ministers showed signs of hesitation. They knew all too well that Zhao Haoyan's current strength was unfathomable, and the recent demise of those 10 generals was a testament to that. If they rashly went to confront him, they might not be able to protect themselves. Do not act impulsively. This traitor is no longer the same as before. We must deliberate carefully. A strategist-like minister said softly, his eyes revealing worry and unease. Chapter 337. Why has Zhao Haoyan failed again? Why is everyone silent? The Demon Emperor also did not expect that Zhao Haoyan had truly defied the heavens. An elderly minister suggested, why don't we hold our positions and wait for Zhao Haoyan and his archrival to fight to the death, exhausting each other? And then we can benefit as bystanders. There was no other choice. At this moment, the blood essence had already been completely consumed by Zhao Haoyan. In this city of darkness, no one could rival. Su Bai, you should die. Buzz. The slaughtering star suddenly appeared, and the nebula changed color. The entire city of darkness was lifted into the void. A barrier surrounded it, and countless malevolent thoughts intertwined with rules compressed the space continuously. Now you can't escape. Ahahaha. Two-headed ogre Kagir. This time,